Yeah, I guess it's time to get into segment one. What do you think?
Go for it, man. Get me some spell action.
Share screen again. That this time I want this. Boom. Ravensire, arg, nerd media topic. That chat my ass. Disney's going all inclusivity with the Final Fantasy. Okay, or not Final Fantasy. Jesus Christ. FF4. It's not Final Fantasy. What the hell is comic books, man? You read comic books.
What are you talking about? Fantastic Four?
There you go. Casting actor Tennant, who I love, but does not belong playing Reed Richards. Sorry, I have a 50% use of cannons. Get stomped. Well, that's what everything's doing.
They did the same thing with the last Fantastic Four movie, where they had Reed Richards be like 20. Like, they tried it in Marvel Ultimates, and it didn't work out. The whole Ultimate thing didn't work out, where everyone was a little younger, it was a little grittier, it was more realistic, and nobody liked it because it's a fucking comic book. You don't want realistic, you don't want gritty, you want inspiring, you want heroes, and heroes can no longer exist in real life now. So
everything's gray areas. Everything they're just humans with superpowers. Everything's the boys now.
Yeah,
I like the boys though.
It's fun, but it's sad. It's really sad. You're watching going, wow, this world sucks.
Well, yeah. Well, again, as not a comic book person, openly, I do not collect comic books. I've never really liked comic books. It's not my thing. I still respect them. I still don't want Superman to be like a 90-year-old Asian kid. I said kid, yeah. But I just don't. I don't get into them. When I what was it? Mystery Men. I love Mystery Men because it kind of makes fun of the comic book industry. I like The Boys because it's really the dark side of like, you give some weirdos some superpowers, how would they really act? Kind of thing. But do I think that your golden age, silver age heroes should be that way? Hell no. No, they're supposed to be inspiring. So I got PTSD watching. Yeah, she did. She's like, Grasa. Awesome. And we're not even fully through the part of season 2 that's been played yet. So she hasn't seen what Homelander dreams about. Okay, we got our fundamentals up. So what are we talking about today? We're talking about castles and crusades, as it says up here in the little corner. Magic. Let's use these powers to annoy. I like the drawing of these wizards, by the way.
For some reason, that picture, it says Wild West to me.
It does to me too.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's absolutely the hat, but at least it's not a pointed cone hat.
Yeah.
No, I get you on that one. All right, so magic lies at the heart of fantasy, and so it does in Castles and Crusades. Of greatest importance for the players is the acquisition of magic spells and an explanation of how spells are used in the game. Well, that makes sense, yeah.
That's what I want.
Thank you for telling me how the book works. The following is a list and brief description of terms regularly used. Sorry, I'm just making up words now.
Yeah.
I'm just throwing stuff in there. Description of terms regarding magic in Castles and Crusades with which players and castle keepers should be familiar. So you have arcane magic, spellcasting, wizards and illusionists. Divine magic, your druids and clerics. And if you remember when we teased it last week, there are only 4 types of casters in this game. 2 divine, the cleric and druid, and 2 arcane, the illusionist and wizard. Illusion magic is a type of magic mastered by illusionists, and we're going to talk about more of that later. Components. Same as you'd find in pretty much, if you play Dungeons & Dragons, same thing you'd find there. Semantic, verbal, material, with a little caveat where we have, focus and divine focus. Basically, think of that as a material component that doesn't get used up. And
that like happens a lot in D&D with the priest holy symbol. A lot of spells require you to have the holy symbol.
And even some magic spells, you required an item worth 1,000 gold pieces, but it didn't get used up.
Diamond or ruby or whatever. Yeah.
That would be considered a focus now, which I actually like that distinction because it's a quick way to look at it and say, my component used or no. I know some people hate material components, and personally, I hate micromanaging them, but I think they're important. I think they're an important aspect to spellcasting. but your mileage may vary on that one. I'm not going to get into that debate. Spell, the formula character uses to harness magic. Makes sense. Spell slots, we'll get into that a little bit. Actually, we talked about, we skipped over the wizard and cleric, didn't we? So we'll probably have to do some scrolling back. There's definitely one part we're going to have to scroll back for because it was driving me crazy because I couldn't find it. This is like, was it Astonishing Swordsman and Sorcerers where you couldn't find move?
Right.
This one I couldn't find starting spells. I found it. It is in the book, but it isn't where you think about. Bonus spells, that's based on your intelligence or your wisdom. Again, very similar to D&D. Known spells, a spell, and wizard spellbooks are spells allowed by a cleric or druid's deity. Now, this one openly says wizards, their spells and spellbooks. Clerics know every spell of that level.
Okay. And we will find out in a minute if they, have to choose at dawn or dusk or whatever.
They do, sort of. They do. But yeah, so you still have to pick which ones you're memorizing, but you have access to all of them. Prepared spells, memorized or prayed for. So this is after you take your time in the morning. And it's a very simplified system for that, which I liked as well. Illusionist is pretty neat. The Illusionist in this game is really neat. I do like it. This is the first, Heathen Dog said, I seem to really like Illusionist. Last one I played was in Korea in 1994. So that's the last time I played an Illusionist. I talk about them, but this one's the first one that if Heathen Dog were to say start running a game, that I'd say, yeah, I think I'd like to try that. Spell resistance. Now, I'm going to read this one because we're going to see this, but you're going to see that it's nuanced. A special ability possessed by certain monsters and characters that may negate spells cast against them. Actually, that isn't what I was looking for. I read something later. Where was that? I read something later.
We'll find it.
That actually basically turned spell resistance into a D20 roll. So it's almost like an attack roll with spells. Always in last place. Yeah. It was in the last place I looked because I had passed it. All right, nature of magic. Are we ready to learn about magic in this game? Do you want me to read it all or just kind of skip to cool paragraphs?
Cool paragraphs.
Okay, I don't know which ones are cool paragraphs. So here we go.
Well,
in Castle Crusades, 4 classes can cast spells: clerics, druids, illusionists, wizards. Sorry, I just smacked my. I do that all the time. I'm gonna have to put my microphone out there by the. As we know, there are 2 of each, and I already mentioned that. The magic used by clerics and druids is classified as divine because it is granted. I want to read this part because, again, some of the definitions in this game are stuff that, as old players, we already know. Duh. But I like how it's defined in this game, but still left open enough for game masters to do what game masters wanted, or castle keepers in this case, let them do what they want to do. As divine because it's granted to them after prayer or supplication to a deity or other powerful entity or elemental force. So you could be, with castle keeper approval, you know what? I want to worship Kakatal, the god of fire. Anybody recognize that one? If the game master said, sure, why not? Then you could do it. I've also heard it pronounced Kakatl, but I pronounce it Kakatal. That is the Stormbringer, god of fire.
Okay.
I played Stormbringer. I was a fire caster. That's the only reason I know that. In most cases, clerics receive their magic from deities, who may limit or place special restrictions on its use. Kind of like you were talking about before. Do you learn at dusk or dawn and so forth? Actually, yes, that could be a definite, like, you don't pray for your spells in the morning. You do blood sacrifices at the dead of night.
Sounds like Aztec gods to me, but all right.
It could be.
Yeah.
Druids gain their magic ability from more varied sources, be they primal forces, nature gods, or elemental powers.
Okay.
Thus, clerics and druids act as a conduit, channeling and focusing magic originating from a higher entity. The whole Lord works through me thing.
Right.
This similarly can be seen in the replication of specific spells or spell types. Yeah, their spell lists are very similar. You'd kind of think they're both priestly, right? So they're kind of similar. The magic used by wizards and illusionists is classified as arcane because it is learned from ancient knowledge and passed down from one generation of magic user to the next, either through apprenticeship or textual record. So you already see that they're defining the difference between the old dusty tomes that wizards have to do versus, the prayer and I worship you, please help me, O Lord, for the cleric. And while, again, it makes sense, and pretty much anybody who's played any game like this or talked about any game like this, they're like, of course, duh. But I think that the game does a good job of identifying it quickly, but meaningfully. I don't know how to say it any other way. I get a vision by reading these paragraphs. I get a vision of what the wizard is. I get a vision of what the druid is. And then now we move on. The source of arcane magic may vary from game to game. Some may portray arcane magic as negative or positive energy channeled from other planes of reality. Others may portray it as existing in and around all things, kind of like the Force. I tend to lean towards it being a natural part of the world, kind of like, the base elements, so forth. But if you wanted to do it, say, no, tap into astral space, which taps into something else, which taps into this other amorphous thing, and that's where you draw your power from, and the horrors come and eat you. Do that as well. Oh, wrong game. No matter the source, the arcane magic of a wizard is quite distant from that of an illusionist. Notice how they say, and I skipped it up above, but they say up above as well, that the druid and cleric are similar. The illusionist and wizard are not.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, the part you skipped was wizards use their mystical knowledge to create and give form or to enhance or physically alter form. Illusionists, on the other hand, alter one's perception of form and reality. So apparently none of them create or alter form just the way you see it.
It's deeper than that. It's kind of one of the reasons why I did skip that part semi-intentionally, not fully intentionally, is because when we talk about it later, it's more so on the illusionist side, not on the wizard side. It's going to actually take some time to explain illusionists. And after reading it, I'm glad they did.
Okay.
Illusionists in contrast, illusionists utilize a very different type of magic. Illusionists alter the perception of form and reality for each creature who is subjected to it or views it. An illusion is every bit as real as the spell's recipient or viewer as a physical creation. Okay, let me read that again. An illusion is every bit as real to the spell's recipient or viewer as a physical creation. This sentence is very important as we go forward. Indeed, an illusionist calls forth his magic and gives it a form that can be more easily perceived to the senses. The actual illusion is the comprehensible form the magic is given. Thus, it could be argued that illusionist magic is the most powerful of all magic, as it can allow those affected by it to defy nature and its physical laws, even beyond those that exist in a fantasy universe. In practical terms, the illusionist convinces a spell recipient that what they sense... Oh, this is... You say he up here and then they down here. God damn it. The illusionist convinces a spell recipient that what they sense is real by altering and giving comprehensible form to magic. A rope, though illusion. Now, this is a good sentence, by the way. A rope, though illusionary. Is illusionary a word?
Yeah.
I'd say it's that should be illusory, yeah. But either way, a rope, though illusionary, is real to the one climbing it. A bridge, though illusionary, is real to the one crossing it. An illusionist can even trick the mind to such an extent that the physical body responds. That's what I've been waiting for. The alteration of the recipient's perception brings what actual physical effect to the force of the illusionist's magic. Thus, illusions can cause damage and can heal damage with lasting effect.
Okay, this is actually mind-bending when it well, actually literally, yeah, of course it's mind-bending, but what it's saying here is that if you can trick someone well enough, reality will change for that person.
Yes.
That means even without illusion magic, if you can trick yourself enough, reality will change for you as well.
Well, it will talk about that a little bit, where it actually mentions that the power is actually with the illusionist, not the target.
Oh,
so
okay. All right.
We'll get to that in a moment.
All right.
So, got an example here. Angrod is wounded in battle. He risks the chance of death if not healed soon. Imok, an illusionist, comes forward casting Cure Critical Wounds.
I think we missed an italics section.
Yeah, well, yeah, that is true.
Yeah, casting should not be, but wounds should be. Yeah.
There you go. That is true. Yeah, I didn't catch that when I read it the first time. Good catch. Comes forward casting Cure Critical Wounds upon the dwarf. Angrod is amazed to see his wounds heal. So, again, this guy right here is like, whoa, my wounds are healing. So it's not like he was tricked into it. It's not like he was told, hoogada boogada, hey, pretend you're being healed. No, the spell was cast with arcane language, whatever, hits the dwarf and his wounds disappear. Imok is cured through magic and altered the perceivable reality so the mind of the dwarf and those viewing the healing can understand it. The power is nothing like the cleric's healing, though it has the same game results. These fundamental differences between the spellcasting classes affect gameplay in different ways. Each spell description cannot cover all situations that may arise during a game, but players and more importantly castle keepers need to keep the above discussion in mind when such situations do arise and necessitate a ruling so the game may continue without long debate and discussion. Basically,
oh yeah, no, I can see that because the way illusions are dealt in this game, you could have a 5-hour session on this just talking about it.
And when we actually talk about the Illusionist later on, get specifically into the Illusionist in a couple pages, we'll have more on that. Okay, so let's just scroll down to preparing spells. Method for preparing and casting spells is generally the same for characters of all spellcasting classes. Spellcasters must prepare their spells. It's the same thing that we're used to in other games, right? Wizards and illusionists learn complex arcane formula to harness magic and give it effect. Spells are known as arcane spells. Okay, is there anything up here to begin to play? No, an arcane tone containing the spells there. And so how many spells do you start with? I don't know. The number of spells of each level in the book is equal to the number of spells of that level the caster can prepare at one time, including bonus spells. Now, this doesn't say it here, but this is actually also your starting spells. If you can cast 4 0th level spells and 3 1st level spells when you make your character, that's how many spells you start off with. And it says it up in the wizard section. I'm not going to scroll back to it.
Okay.
But yeah, it's in a sidebar basically. A wizard spellbook is typically quite large in size and thickness, averaging about 4 pages per spell. New spells may be learned and added to spellbooks through gaining a level by copying from another spellbook and from scrolls and through research. By the way, it has the same similar process as AD&D for adding new spells to spellbooks, but overall they simplify it here. Weren't you the one that you don't like dealing with pages in spellbooks?
Yeah, I mean, having dealing with pages spellbooks and having the size of the spellbook be too important, I don't like that.
I love it. I think it's absolutely integral. It makes a wizard determine what spell. A wizard with 100 spells in his repertoire, you're not carrying all those with you. You pick which book you think is going to be best. You got your dungeon delving book, you got your city going book, you got your clean the house book. However you want to put that together. I do like it. And this game makes it less cumbersome than D&D. No, not the spell books. They're just as cumbersome. But the system for putting the spells in the spell book less cumbersome. A wizard or illusionist must have access to a spellbook to study and sufficient light to read in order to prepare the spells. A character can use a borrowed spellbook or a spellbook written by another magic user to prepare a spell the character already knows, so you already have to know it. Mm-hmm. Got to be in your book somewhere, and has recorded in the character's own spellbook. But read magic must first be cast in order to decipher the writing in the book. So let's say there are 2 wizards in the party. Heathen Dog's one, I'm another. You know what? He didn't bring his entire clunky book collection of spells, decided to take the ones he thought were meaningful. I brought a different set of spells that I thought were meaningful. We can actually go back and forth as long as we have read magic. Hey man, let me memorize that fireball spell you wrote down. I didn't bring mine.
No, get your own.
Oh. A character needs to sleep and rest for a total of 8 hours each day before preparing spells. Now that should be enough. You shouldn't have to say any more than that, right?
Right.
But I think we've all been in groups and in games where people argue, or the game master says you didn't sleep enough.
For 10 minutes during the night. He didn't get his 8 hours.
Yeah, exactly. 10 minutes, silly things like that. I think that's where this next part comes in, because otherwise I would say it's not needed. But at the same time, I think it's good for clarification. The character need not slumber for every minute of that time, but must refrain from movement. I think that this going their new version future should say travel, not movement.
Yeah, it really should say travel, because movement, because well, he got up and went to the bathroom.
Right.
Like, come on, man. Don't be a dick.
It is funny because Heathen Dog says that like we're saying facetiously. I've seen all this crap happen.
Yeah.
People like to screw over wizards. Must refrain from movement, combat, spellcasting, or any other fairly demanding physical or mental task during the rest period. I mean, you can play your Sudoku. That's okay.
Yeah. You could read your young adult novel if you want. That's fine. Whatever.
Unless it gets your blood boiling like mine does, then if the character's rest is interrupted, each interruption adds 1 hour to the total amount of time the character has to rest in order to clear his or her mind.
No, that's actually pretty good. Like if you get sneak attack at night and you have to combat or cast a spell, whatever, no matter even if it only lasts 5 minutes, that adds an hour.
Well, that's going to fall into something a little later also, but this lends to something. So one of the problems that we have where I work in real life is, well, now there are finally 4 of us, but for the longest time, there's 1 or 2. And sometimes you've got to focus on something that's going to take hours. I can't be focusing on other things. Then the phone rings, pick it up, you help the person, because I'm literally tier 0 through tier 3. I do everything from architecture and engineering down to, hello, can I help you, please?
Oof, that's awful.
I know, right? But it's a niche field, so I'm okay with it. But anyway, you get that phone call, and even the phone call's like, hey, what's the IP address? Oh, I can't get to it. Talk to the network folks. Bye. Something like that. That's still, now I have to go back. Where was I? What was I thinking of? It takes a good 15, 20 minutes to get back into what I was doing in that role that I was already working on. So I think this represents that well. Obviously, somebody fighting, like Heathen Dog said, a sneak attack, that hour is probably more appropriate with the adrenaline rush. And,
so come down off the adrenaline, do the emergency, pee afterward because, that's what happens when you fight. You gotta pee. That's what it is.
If the character does not need to sleep for some reason, the character still must have 8 hours of restful calm each day before preparing any spells. When the character prepares spells for the coming day, all spells the character has cast within the last 8 hours count against the character's daily limit of spells of a specific level. Why do you think that sentence was put in there?
Hang on, where is that?
It's up here. Let me highlight it. When the character prepares, sorry, that started a little. When the character prepares spells for the coming day,
all spells the character has cast within the last 8 hours count against the character's daily limit of spells of a specific level.
Baldahar, thank you very much. I'm going to put that on the stream as soon as it pops up here on the screen. Thank you very much. You're not going to see all the big accolades and so forth. It doesn't happen because we're not using that. But thank you very much for the subscription, Baldahar. We appreciate it. Why am I not seeing it?
It'll happen. Don't worry.
Hurry up, StreamYard.
But
Here's why that's there, in my opinion, my estimation. Well, I cast my spell at 11:30. It's after midnight. It's technically a new day. No, it is not. And then you have some DMs will be like, well, that was too close to the night. You've already slept half. You're not getting that spell for a full other 24 hours. I think this one's basically just saying, okay, you cast a spell. You had that sneak attack in the middle of the night. You cast that spell. You're not replacing that slot until you get, some 8 hours relaxation in there. I think it's a simplified way of warning both players and game masters, not to mess with the system. That's the way I see it.
I'm not sure how I feel about it.
As somebody who tends to play Wizards, I'm okay with it. I think it makes sense.
Because the only reason it would actually come into play would be if the game master attacked you during your rest period and forced you to
or if it happened right after. Let's say you had your rest period, you memorized your spells in the morning, and you traveled for 2 hours, and then your party gets attacked, and the fighters isn't dead, but you can't move anymore for the day. But you've blown your wad of spell slots, or you only have 1 or 2 spell slots left, but you want to get some spots back. You can't just say, okay, you know what? I'm going to start memorizing again. You've got to wait another 8 hours.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm going to have to think about that one. I don't know if I like that.
It's just basically preventing double dipping.
Yeah.
And I'm, as like I said, as somebody who tends to play Wizards, I'm for that. In addition to the complete hour of rest immediately prior to preparing spells, mind you, this is for everybody. Before you even count your spell levels and so on and so forth, you basically have to meditate, study your book, calm down, relax for an hour. Then think of it as after that, the actual memorizing starts. It takes 15 minutes per spell. Notice it doesn't say level.
Mm-hmm.
Just per spell for a character to study a spell book and memorize a spell for a day. So a character need not prepare a full complement of spells allowed per day, but preparing even one spell takes at least 1 hour of rest and 15 minutes of study.
Okay, I like this part. The reason being because with the addition of you have to have a complete hour of rest prior to start memorization, but that would fold into the 8 hours for the morning. So you can memorize all your spell slots in the morning, or you can memorize 3/4 of your spell slots, have free slots for during the day. Something arises like, oh shit, we're gonna need this. If you rest for an hour, then you can fill that slot with a spell that you now know is needed.
As long as it wasn't a slot that you used within the last 8 hours of that day.
Like you memorize 3/4 of your slots, you have these slots free for this purpose. Like we don't know what we're getting into. We're going to shadow surveys the scene bullshit when we get there, and we will figure out what's what. You get to where you're going, you look from afar like, okay, well, we're going to need some siege magic, or we're going to need this specific spell, some triangulate bullshit or whatever. Okay, well, I'll rest an hour and then I'll memorize that spell to fill that unused slot. That's good. I like this. It gives a little more leeway.
Yeah.
And I always thought it made more sense. Like, why do I have to memorize all the spells I'm going to use in the morning right when I wake up?
Sure.
Why do I have to?
Well, I can tell you, I guess it'd be homebrewed, but we didn't play that way that you had to do it in the morning. But we did do the whole, it takes time to memorize after the fact. Now, in a way, this game would be more punishing. Because if I'm learning a 3rd level spell, that's 30 minutes of memorization, right? Well, this one requires an hour and 15 minutes. But, again, we homebrewed that. This is just putting it in the game saying, hey, you don't have to go out there with your full complement to start. The only thing it's saying is if you use that slot number 3, you cannot fill that slot again for another 8 hours.
Right.
Which I'm absolutely okay with. All right, to prepare any spell, the character must have enough peace, quiet, and comfort to allow for proper concentration. The character's surroundings must be free from overt distractions, such as nearby combat or other loud noises. Exposure to inclement weather might prevent the necessary concentration, as would an injury or failed saving throw the character might suffer while studying. They'll talk about concentration in a moment here, but I want to focus on this for just a moment. Exposure to inclement weather might prevent necessary concentration. Personally, I probably wouldn't utilize that a lot against the wizard unless I felt it was meaningful for the story to basically say, it's a hailstorm, dude. You're getting bonked on the head with hail. Get the hell out of there and get moving. This is not where you want to be.
And no source of heat.
Sure.
Yeah, you're going to be too cold. You can't concentrate. Your hands are shaking. You're trying to hold a book. You can't read it. Stuff like that.
In either case, whether it's movement or just strictly survival, in your case, memorizing spells should not be your highest priority.
Yeah, your highest priority should be find a cave, make a fire, get some shelter, whatever. Yeah.
Right. So, but I like that it was put in here so that a player couldn't argue. Just because there's lightning outside and it hit 3 people next to us. Until a character prepares spells from a book, the only spells available to cast are the ones the character already had prepared from a previous day and is not yet used.
That's okay.
Yeah, that's normal.
Yeah.
Not sure I like how that's worded, but I'm not going to nitpick every little word in here. I could just be that because I'm reading it live. During the study period, a wizard chooses which spells to prepare.
Sure.
If a character already has spells prepared from a previous day that have not been cast, the character can abandon some or all of them to make room for new spells. Oh, like yeah. Well,
like
that can only be done during this time.
Yes.
As we'll read later, that can't be done just, what do they call it in Earth Dawn? Retuning on the fly.
Mm-hmm.
You can't do that in this game. You have to do it after the rest.
After the 8-hour rest or the 1-hour rest?
8 hour.
Okay.
If a character already, a character can prepare the same spell more than once each day. Each preparation counts as one spell towards the character's daily limit for each spell level. So if you memorize Magic Missile twice, that's 2 spells.
Sure.
If a spell has multiple versions, the character must choose. Doesn't say may, doesn't say should. It says must choose which version to use when the character prepares it. This is a pet peeve of mine in D&D.
Yeah. Where clerics often just say, no, it's a cause or cure. I can use either one. No.
And it's funny you said that with clerics because that is almost always who gets that little bonus. Clerics already have enough power; they don't need more. But even with wizards, the wizard should have to pick: are you doing the beneficial side or the horror? Are you removing curse or causing the curse?
Right.
Unless the spell description specifies that the choice is made upon casting.
Fair.
Generally, I like the way this chapter is worded so far. This one sentence up here is a little weird, but it could just, like I said, be the way I was reading it. When preparing spells for the day, the character can leave some spell slots open. There you go. We're talking to you now.
Okay. Yeah.
Later during that day, the character can repeat the preparation process as often as the character likes, time and circumstance permitting, to fill these unused spell slots. Like the first session of the day, this preparation takes at least 1 hour and 15 minutes of game time. The character cannot, however, abandon a previously prepared spell to replace it with another one, or fill a slot that is empty because the character had cast it in the meantime.
Right. Now, because we've already said that any slots used in the last 8 hours cannot be filled.
Right.
But what if this hour thing, for example, you wake up at 8 a.m. and you fill 4 slots for an hour, so it's 9 a.m. now. Okay. And oh crap, you get attacked. You cast Fireball. That's 1 slot gone. That's 9 o'clock, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 o'clock rolls around. You rest for an hour. And now you can refill it because it's been over 8 hours.
I would say no, because you can only do it for the day. Actually, I would let you do it personally, but I would have it count for the next day. Basically, you're not getting to cast spells 3 days. It's not an 8-hour day; it's a 24-hour day. So you're not going to be able to cast spells 3 times.
Well, the way it's written, it seems like magic is in 8-hour increments. So it's like three sections throughout the day. It seems like it.
No, it's just giving you the option based on rest. I don't think it's meant to be used for how can I finagle this system and find the loopholes. It's just based on sometimes you travel at night, sometimes you travel in the day, sometimes you learn your spells now, sometimes you learn some now, some later. It's just, I think it's talking about that flexibility.
Now, if it says somewhere in here specifically that used slots do not refresh or replenish unless you get the full 8-hour rest, well, but it doesn't say that.
Later during the day, okay, the character cannot abandon a previously prepared spell. We got that. Replace with another one, or fill a slot that is empty because the character's cast a spell in the meantime. See, I take that sentence as basically saying that.
Where's that?
One I highlighted.
Okay, however, cannot abandon a previously prepared spell, place it with another one, or fill a slot is empty because the character. Well, we got to look at the beginning of that paragraph. When preparation for spell for the day, a character can leave some slots open. This is specifically talking about that. Like the first session of the day, the preparation takes at least 1 hour for the rest and 15 minutes per spell. The character cannot, however, abandon previously prepared spells, replace it with another one, or fill a slot that is empty because the character has cast the spell in the meantime. I get that. Now, if it didn't say that a character needs to sleep or rest for a total of 8 hours, before preparing spells, okay. You not slumber for every minute of it, blah, blah, blah. And then where does it say it? Restful calm, blah, blah, blah.
The only thing that it does here, and I say that this is because it doesn't want people using the loophole of a cast at 11:59. That's not today. Is when a character prepares spells for the coming day. All spells a character has cast within the last 8 hours count against the character's daily limit of spells of a specific level. Right. That tells me that you're done until tomorrow. Again, I don't necessarily have a problem with a character like you were talking about. memorizing some spells in the morning, using that spell slot, and at 5 p.m., like you said, memorizing again. Okay, just using that example you did.
Yeah.
However, I would count that spell slot from 5 o'clock then until basically midnight of the next day. So yeah, I let you have it earlier than you should have had, but I'm not giving you 3 fireballs. If you only have one spell per day, I'm not giving you 3 fireballs in 2 days. I'm giving you 2 fireballs in 2 days.
Okay. I completely get where you're coming from. I just don't think that this game, I think this game purposely got away from the 24-hour model and is going in 3 8-hour segments. I think that's where it's going.
When it says per day.
I know that, but in every other instance, 8 hours is the important feature.
Well, 8 hours because that's the rest you need in between.
Yeah, that's what you need, and slots don't refresh for 8 hours. You have to wait 8 hours. The 8 hours, it keeps coming back. So I think, and you know what? The next time they have an AMA, I'm going to ask this.
Okay.
Is Magic gone away from the 24-hour model and divided into 3 sections into 8-hour models?
Or hey, if one of them is watching,
yeah,
jump on it.
Answer, yeah.
Either in the YouTube comments or Krantz says Heathen quite the rules are. Yes, and see that's one of the differences between me and Heathen Dog. He's trying to get to the to find out what the fact of the matter is. I always say spirit of law trumps the letter of the law. I always say it, and I don't care what people think about it either. That is exactly how I run it. I've already made my decision. I will not give you 3 fireballs in 2 days. That's it. And I hear an echo. I will not give 3 fireballs in 2 days. So even if I let you memorize it early, that is going to count. Basically, you're going to have that spell instead of in your repertoire for 24 hours. You're going to have it in your repertoire for 30 hours. I'm giving you that little perk. But it is going to count for the next day.
And I'm not trying to rules lawyer. I'm just trying to see if they have a paradigm shift, because it seems like they're paradigm shifting from the 24 hours to 8. And if that's their intention, then Max would have to change the way he changed what he just said. Because if it's their intention to do that, then he's actually, not doing the game correctly.
I would say what I think that they're trying to do is get away from what you were talking about earlier, is saying, well, you have to memorize when you wake up first thing in the morning, and there's no other recourse.
Basically, that could very well be it, and that's fine.
Well, ask them in that AMA, or like I said, if one of them watch, they can answer. Yeah. Okay. Character prayer spell remains the character's mind until the character triggers it through casting, or until the character abandons it. Remember, you can't abandon it until the next day. After rest. After the 8-hour rest. Right. I'm hearing myself coming through your speakers.
I don't see how that's possible.
I don't know. Maybe it's just me. If anybody else can.
Yeah. Anybody else hear Max echoing? Tell me.
I'll talk quietly. Upon casting the spell, the spell is purged from the character's mind. Certain other events, such as disruption of the spell during casting, the effects of magic items, or special attacks from monsters, can wipe a prepared spell from a character's mind.
Makes sense.
If a character dies, all spells stored in the character's mind are wiped away. By the way, whoever wrote this section, God bless you. You should be the entire author of this book. Okay, Lost Ogre says there's no echo. Maybe it's just me. But hey, if it's just me.
Okay, now, a lot of people will say, oh, well, if your character dies, of course, it doesn't matter if he loses spells or not. Well, no. I mean, this is a fantasy game. Death is not
resurrection.
Everything. Yeah, exactly. So, you could die, and then the cleric brings you back to life. Well, guess what? He brought you back to life with 0 spells in your head. That's what happened.
But you're breathing. Stop bitching.
Yeah.
Okay, clerics and druids. This is where it's going to turn south. Clerics and druids prepare their spells in largely the same manner. They choose and prepare spells ahead of time, just as a wizard or illusionist would, but clerics or druids do not require spellbooks. Instead, clerics select and prepare spells ahead of time, through prayer and meditation at a particular time of day.
Okay. Now, all right. That one part of the sentence there made wizard and illusory magic a lot more versatile than clerical and druidic magic. Well, because they have a particular time of day.
True, but clerics and druids still have the versatility of having access to all.
Yeah, they have access to all the spells that their deity gives them. But that's the same thing as having access to all the spells in your spell book. kind of. Okay,
Well,
yeah, okay. That was a little weird, but yeah, I get it.
Only if you have every first level spell in your spell book.
Well,
but
no, because your deity could have restrictions on you. Like if your deity is a fire god, you probably won't have access to any water spells.
I don't necessarily disagree with that. I'm just saying that it does say has access to all the spells of the level. I would not disagree with you saying, hey, you follow this god. And in this book, there are no gods. This is just a core rules book. So
next one. Some deities set the time or impose other special conditions for granting spells to their clerics. Fire god, not going to give water spells, that stuff.
I'd let you use water spells as a temptation.
You will anger your god, but he's going to give it to you. He's going to give it to you, but don't take it.
If some event prevents the characters from praying at the proper time, the character must do so as soon as possible thereafter. It's kind of like the Hajj, I guess. You couldn't go when you're supposed to, but just do it when you can.
No. Must do so as soon as possible. If as soon as possible comes in the game master's opinion and you decide not to, you're done.
Well, right, but remember, this is the same hour and 15 minutes.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is. We'll get down here in a minute. If the character does not stop to pray for spells at the first opportunity, the character must wait until the next day to prepare spells. See? The time required for a divine spellcaster to prepare spells is the same as for a wizard.
Sure.
There must be 8 hours of rest 8 hours of rest each day before prayer, and at least 1 hour of that rest must be immediately prior to prayer.
Okay.
It takes 15 minutes per spell to pray it, so it's the same thing. Just they're praying instead of studying.
Sure.
There must be a relatively peaceful environment. It's the same crap. Well, actually, I should probably read this because unlike arcane magic users whose choice of spells is limited to those in their spell book, a cleric or druid may pick any spell from the applicable spell list unless the character's deity imposes a restriction, like your water spell.
Right.
As with arcane spells, the time of preparation, any spells cast within the previous 8 hours count against the number of spells that can be prepared. So it's the same rules. And I think they did that, obviously. I see, especially in second edition.
Wait. Like arcane magic users, a divine spellcaster does not have to prepare all of his or her spells at once. However, the character cannot fill a slot that is empty because the character casts a spell.
Same rule.
It's the same thing. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, all right. Then now they're not restricted in the particular time.
No, but
why did it say a particular time of day? Must do. But then
that's more of
the option. I don't understand.
It's more of a role playing thing. So if you want to learn all your spells, let's say you follow the god of the moon, and she says that when you pray for me, you have to do it, when the stars are out, and preferably when the moon's out as well.
Sure.
Okay. So you wait until that nighttime. You do your rest, your hour, and then your 15 minutes, whatever. But you didn't want all the spells. You've still met the criteria of praying to her when you're supposed to, but you left a few slots open for the same reason that you were talking about for the wizard. You're not exactly sure what's going on this night. We're in a little dangerous area. Do I need fairy fire? Do I need bless? I don't know. So let me hold off on that. Weird things happen, and a couple hours later, you decide, oh, this is a magic spell. I don't know all the cleric spells, but you decide you need fairy fire, right? You think there's something out there. You're not sure what. You want some fairy fire. So you sit back down, you take your hour and 15 minutes, you pray for that, and now you have fairy fire, you cast it, That's the way I see it.
Yeah, I don't like that. I think that they shouldn't be able to do that. You should be, depending on your god, you should be, look, this is the time. If you're in a fight or traveling and you can't do it, the minute you are not and you think you have time, you have to start then. If you choose not to, you're done. God says, oh, you put your back to me. There you go. Wait your day, bitch.
I can see that, but at the same time, God's not going to stop you from praying 5 times. You have to do it this one time. The other 4 are just, hey, thanks.
See, for the ability of having all the spells, or theoretically having all the spells of your level available to you, I think that restriction is appropriate.
We'll have to agree to disagree on that one. Anyway, as David Babbitt said here, my favorite thing guys said so far, rules interpretation, spirit of law trumps the letter of law, DM's final decision. I don't know if you read my response to you. I wrote him a book today. I'm just going to say it to you right now. As I put it in that post, I wasn't trying to lecture you. But Yeah, it's my thing. I got spun up on it, so there we go. Anyway, but thanks for your comment. I actually liked this comment a lot. So most arcane spellcasters. Oh, so here we are, acquiring new spells. So everybody wants new spells, right?
Sure.
Most arcane spellcasters desire, beyond all other treasure. Now it says most, not all. You can play yours a little differently. The acquisition of new spells for their spellbooks. Okay. Wizards and illusionists learn and add new spells through several methods. So gaining a level, just a fighter constantly practices with his weapons. A wizard illusionist spends time researching and learning about arcane magics and spells. When a character gains a new level, he chooses one new spell to add to a spellbook. This is one of those things that this is a rule in D&D too. And I never have game masters give me my spell. They're always like, you always said you have to adventure for it. You have to do this. I'm like, I've been telling you for three sessions now. I'm about to level up. I'm about to level up. I'm about to level up. You should have had one in the damn adventure. That actually annoyed me. That's one of the things when I'm a game master, I always have spells written down like on the side, like in case the character levels. Like, oh yes, you broke a glass or a vase, and oh look, you found a spell. If that's how I have to do it, or I find other ways.
Well, I think that this one is they likened it to a fighter practicing with his weapon. Experience got you an epiphany.
Sure.
I think that's more what they're looking at here. All of your intense study gave you an epiphany, and this is your new spell. You considered
completely.
Yeah. You basically researched it in downtime throughout your level.
Now, the only caveat that I would make, I agree with you 100%, and I was actually going to get there, but you got it, is that I would want the character sometime before the player, sometime before the character levels up, to tell me what the character would want or what the player would want. PC would want.
I see.
So that I can make it more organic, if possible. But ultimately, chicken scratch in on the side columns of some other spells. Remember, a spell book, in theory, isn't just a spell book. Isn't just a book only of magical voodoo. It's also a bunch of notes and formulae and diagrams and so on and so forth that lead to the occult. I said that wrong. That are occultists. There we go. Yeah. But you get. I mean, it's just like you said. Yes, but those notes culminate together like eureka, epiphany, as he said it. Got it. Boom. Dancing lights. I don't know. All right. For example, upon attaining second level, the wizard may add one additional first level spell to the character's spellbook. Okay. The wizard automatically knows the spell and can prepare it. So basically, he's been going, I prefer a little bit more giving it to the character. But again, that's just style.
Yeah,
that has nothing.
Right.
Yep. Yeah. Deciphering spells. Here we go. To decipher spells in another spell book or scroll, a character must first cast Read Magic. So again, remember we were talking before, I wanted to steal one of Heathen Dog spells, so I have to cast Read Magic first. Once the character successfully casts Read Magic, the character can learn or attempt to learn new spells and add it to a spellbook. The rules for adding new spells to a spellbook depend upon the source of the spell. Even reading spells already known by a character contained in another spellbook requires the casting of Read Magic. I find that to be silly, but I'm not going to complain about it. It's a trope that goes across many games.
Yeah, but a lot of stories about wizards use that idea and put a realistic spin on it. Like if you had a book that contained all of your knowledge, everything you've learned in your entire life about the one thing that is most important to you, would it be written plain, or would you have it encrypted in some way?
I think it all depends on the world and so forth. But I mean, the point is well taken. I agree with you. I make Read Magic like in my game. Read Magic is I guess you'd consider it like a talent or a feat. Mm. It's not something everybody just gets, but wizards, no. It's not a spell that has to be cast.
It's a natural ability after years and years of study.
Yes, exactly.
I get it.
And it says here, because no two spells are inscribed alike. I do believe, and I also believe with what Heathen Dog was saying, especially if you're more secret, if you're like a necromancer, I'm a wizard, but secretly you're a necromancer, I absolutely could see you hiding all those raise undead, spells and so forth. Like, no, that's not raise undead. That's
no, it's continual light. Come on,
exactly.
Get out.
Don't you see the arrows radiating light out? Yeah. Those aren't blood droplets.
Get out. Get what? Get back.
Once a wizard deciphers a spell book or scroll, the character does not need to decipher it again to read it at a later time. Again, that's normal. Yeah, D&D does the same thing.
Yep.
Once you read magic on a different person's spell book, you can read that person's writing no matter what spell book that person writes in. Deciphering a magical writing allows the reader to identify the spell and gain some idea of its effects, although the character must still learn the spell in order to cast it. That means for those, that's your roll, a chance to learn spell roll.
Right.
So while you're on your way there, you still gotta those nuances. You gotta get them.
If the magical writing is a scroll, the wizard can use the scroll. So you can't even use a scroll until you read magic at first?
Well, if it's somebody else's, yeah.
Well, it's a scroll. It's whoever's holding it. It doesn't really belong to someone.
To copy it, remember, even in D&D, if you use a scroll, you have to still fill in the blanks. Stop hitting the microphone. You still have to fill in the blanks. So a scroll only halves the time?
Yeah.
So it helps you get there, but it doesn't get you all the way there.
Right. No, that's not what I'm saying. It seems like that even to you, like cast from a scroll.
Oh, to cast from. You know what? I don't think so. But well, this is just on the learning portion.
I know, but that sentence: if the magical writing is a scroll, the wizard can use the scroll. Is that used for learning? But it says deciphering spells.
No. No.
But you know what? We're going to get to scrolls later. So
we are. But I think what this means is like if the magical writing is a scroll,
or inscribing the spell in your own spell book, probably
right.
that.
I can scribe it into my spell book and I can still use it. I think. Yeah. We'll find out. We'll find out.
Yeah.
Learning and copying spells. A character must first decipher the spells contained in a spell book or scroll as described above. Got it. Thereafter, the character can learn the new spell from the book by spending 1 day plus 1 day per level of the spell being learned in study of it. If the person who created the spell book is on hand to help the reader can learn the spell in half the normal time. So if I have a heathen dog standing over my shoulder telling me that I'm understanding the formula is completely wrong, he can actually reduce my time by half.
Yeah, no, you're not looking at my notes in the margin.
But that looks like boobies.
See? There you go. Boobies right there, boobies.
That's not part of the spell, damn it.
It is now.
Is it? It is now. Oops. Enlargement. Anyway.
Part of the somatic component is twisting of nipples. Sorry, that's the way it is. That's how I made the spell. Get over it.
There you go. It's a purple nurple spell. The number of days necessary to learn the spell is reduced by a number of days equal to the character's intelligence modifier. So let's back that up a minute. The number of days necessary to learn a spell is reduced by a number of days equal to the character's intelligence modifier. So if my intelligence modifier is +2, take 2 days off learning the spell.
Top, right.
With, of course, minimum of 1 day. You can't just automatically, I know it. I didn't write it down, but I know it.
I'm smart, bitches.
The castle keeper may choose to require the character to make a successful intelligence check to learn a new spell after the necessary days of study. I don't screw characters after the fact.
No. Like, you've already spent the time, you spent the days, you did your due diligence. I'm not going to make you roll an intelligence check and just have a bad roll, just a bad beat and get screwed out of possibly weeks.
I will personally have you roll first. Now, that might be against what this game says, might even be against what D&D says, but I will have you roll first. In that case, then you're not wasting all the time in the world and so forth. I know it might sound kind of cheaty, like, well, shouldn't it take a week to learn the spell and then determine whether you can learn it or not? Yeah, maybe.
No, but halfway through, you knew you weren't getting it.
Right.
Yeah.
So, Lost Ogre put some emojis in there.
Ghost and something.
That's our purple nurple spell.
Oh, okay.
I guess. Once a new spell is learned, the character can copy it into a spell book as described below. The process of copying leaves the spell book or scroll from which it was copied unharmed, which is what I think that this sentence was referring to.
Yes. Okay. So you there are a lot of games where if you copy a scroll into a spell book, it's considered used and it disappears. A lot of games do that.
Boobies? I see what he did there.
Oh, boobies. All right. Okay. Good job. That was good.
Weirdo. Once a wizard understands a new spell, it can be copied into a spell. Wait, did I just not read that? Oh, the process requires 1 day plus additional. Yeah, we already read that. 0 level spells require 1 day. Yeah, because that's math. A spell takes 1 page. Okay, here we go. A spell takes up 1 page of the spell book per spell level. Very simple. It's not roll a d4 plus the spell level plus this, that, the next thing. Which, while I like that, I can understand why people don't. This part, come on. 0 level spells take up a single page. A normal spell book has 200 pages. Material for writing a spell costs, ready? 100 gold per page of the spell.
Holy crap. That seems like excessive amount.
I guess you now know why you need to go for those dragon hordes.
Yeah. Yeah. Damn. And you want to level as much as possible.
Well, and if you think about it, this is the wizard's. He's actually out adventuring. The wizard doesn't want to adventure. He's got a strength of like 8. He's got a wisdom of 16, intelligence of 18. Dude's smart. He knows it's not smart to live out in the wild with monsters, but damn it, he's got a debt to pay off to the mafia.
I mean, wow, that is excessive.
It's something. Same procedure for learning a spell is used to reconstruct a lost spell book. If the character already has a particular spell prepared, the character can write it directly into a new book at a cost of 100 gold pieces per page. Woo. The process wipes the prepared spell from the character's mind just as casting it would. I struggle with that, but I it's always been related to me as, well, you're putting the energy into the spell. Sure, okay, whatever.
No, for scrolls I get. Because the scroll, you have to imbue it with the energy of the spell,
it isn't the full spell.
That's where the spell originates from when you cast it. I get it, but put it in your book. You're not imbuing power to your book. I would say that the reason for this is to prevent somebody from just copying it to like 18 spell books a day. Yeah, but you already have the limit of gold pieces put to this damn thing. Well, no, that's if it's yours. If you hand me a spell book and just say, "Hey, give me your spells," think of the racket that I could, I could make a lot of money in a day doing that. If I didn't actually lose a spell and I just had like a little chain of people, like, "I'll be with you in an hour. Let me write this spell down." Okay, your turn. Charge like 100 gold pieces per spell. I could have my own brand new spell book in just a few days. So I know obviously I'm being somewhat facetious here, but I think that's why it was put in there, is to prevent that. Also, it doesn't matter too much. I always think that you're probably doing this outside of adventuring anyway, so it's not like you're going to need that fireball spell right now. Right. Hopefully. If the spell is not prepared, the character may not reconstruct it from memory, but can prepare it from a borrowed spell book and then write it into a new spell book. So read magic. Right. All that same stuff as before. Put it in the slot, then you can type it. Then you can type it up. Okay, got it. Duplicating existing spellbook uses the same procedures as replacing it. So if you want to make a copy of it, it's going to take you some time and money. Except that the time requirement and cost per page is half. Because it's your own spell, you're just literally just duplicating it from one to the other. Research. A character can also research a spell independently, duplicating an existing spell from the spell list or creating an entirely new one. At the end of the process, this is a good thing for game masters, castle keepers and players. Create entirely new spells. I've got all the second edition. What's it? Encyclopedia. What's it called? Encyclopedia Magica. So every source for second edition up until that date, anyway. So I can find new spells to make. At the end of this process, character must write the spell into a spellbook. Reading a scroll into a spellbook. Character must first decipher the spell contained on a scroll by casting Read Magic. Again, same. Now, I want to backtrack a second because you asked the question. Mm-hmm. This is a scroll into a spellbook. Does it get used up? Because a scroll is magical and the reduction of the spell to the scroll involves all necessary components for casting the spell from the scroll, a character can simply read a scroll into a spellbook. Doing so copies the spell to the character's spellbook, but destroys the scroll in the process. I don't agree with that. I mean, it's the rule, but so I have to follow it. But I don't. You can house rule anything you want, but yeah, I mean, I know. But, core, play raw rules as written. Yeah. Okay. Wow, we're on the Illusionist. So this is what I really wanted to talk about, and I was going to pass it over to you, but I want to do this one. Okay. It's up to you. Okay. Illusionist spells tend to baffle and confuse players and castle keepers alike. Speak for yourself. Great. See, it's already telling you This is confusing as shit.
Yeah, you're gonna have fun with this.
Oh,
You alive? At least they answered the question for you instead of forcing you to hustle. Yeah, that is true. Look at Baldhar actually not being a smartass for once. What's up with that? The source of the illusion is often as confusing as the illusion itself. Okay, there's two sentences right there. The first two sentences are saying, good luck. Got it. The word illusion itself seems to connotate the magic user's magic as purely illusionary, unreal, meaning a strong or schooled mind can see through the illusion's trickery and machinations and entirely ignore its effects.
well, thank you for setting up a great fall, because that's not what's going to be.
Yeah, right. Yet this could not be more wrong.
Boom, and we fall.
Nathaniel Boers, reading the scroll into the spell book is literally reading the scroll and casting the spell into the book. Okay, okay.
I personally do not agree, because because the spell did not go off. That's the thing.
Well,
that is my sticking point.
I understand where you come from, but just envision it like this. You're reading the scroll, right? You're sucking the magic. You're a magic user. You have control of magic. Instead of taking the spell and forming it into the fireball that goes out there, you're taking the magic and just putting it into the book. You're moving the energy from one source to another source.
But
yes, this all lore.
That now you can cast from your book, because that's where you put the magic, right? You could cast it like a scroll and burn your book away. Can't do that, can you? No.
Maybe you can.
We've already gone through the whole book thing. It's not happening.
Did we? To actually cast from your book?
Yeah, it didn't say anything about that.
Well, we'll figure it out. We'll see if it's there. Maybe it's not. I don't remember reading about that.
If you cast from your book, I'm on board. I'm on board.
If you cast from your book and it's gone.
Yeah, I'm on board, because that would be the same as a scroll. Then you're using the magic. But
you can do that in D&D.
Yeah, but
it's gone.
Yeah.
Nobody does it because it's like
dumb. It's dumb. It's a dumb thing to do. But hey, you know what? It's either that or die. It is what it is.
This is different from learning this scroll. I mean, I get what he's trying to say. So, yeah. By the way, that for the people that are watching on Twitch, he's posting on YouTube. I'll put that up real quickly. You can pause it if you want to read it longer than that, and then I'll put that. That's different. So, I get it. I mean, I don't have a problem with it. Heathen Duck has more of a problem with it than I do. I just want to make sure that it's it's clearly stated. I think it is.
The spell didn't go off, so the energy isn't used. And if you can't cast from your book like a scroll, then it doesn't make sense.
Yet this could not be more wrong. Some of the illusions are in fact simple illusions, while others are the mind's conquest over matter, and they're going to find that later.
Okay. And
still others are channeled magic displayed with such force that their conjured elements are as real as a wizard's magic missile or a cleric's spiritual weapon. And I think that sentence, that definition there, has got to be something we take with us as we go forward. To understand the illusionist spells, we must first understand the illusionist. Psychology of an illusionist.
Wait. So what I got from that is that an illusionist is casting illusion, but it's so good. It didn't just trick you; it tricked the universe. It is real now. For those moments, it is real. He's basically tricking reality.
I think that's a good definition of it. Okay. They'll say something similar to that, because unlike you, I did skim through this.
Oh.
So they'll say something similar to that, but we'll see how similar in a little bit here. See how off I am. So the Illusionist is a magic-using class whose title does not necessarily equate to his skill set. Illusionist is a class description, a generalized word establishing distance from the wizard. How many times so far in this book have they said, look, Illusionist is not a wizard, A, and B, don't think of the illusionist as just a little trickster. Okay, I get it. The baseball bat has hit me in the temple multiple times now. I get it. But each time they do the distinction, they do it in a different way, which I think is okay. Defines a class that uses magic in a subtle but very different manner than the wizard, druid, or cleric. Thank you again.
Yep.
He's not a trickster. Okay. The illusionist has no skills that allow him to fool or trick his targets into believing something is what it isn't. Now, then how are you calling it an illusionist is what I was thinking. At this point. Such skills belong in the domain of a street urchin jester, or some other buffoon who has no recourse
Oh,
in making
man,
his way in the world.
Why you gotta
tricking
be like
other-
that? They're just trying to make a living, man. Why you gotta fuck with them? Come on.
I was reading this paragraph earlier, and I was like, okay, so it's like the Earth Dawn Illusionist. And then I'm like, holy shit, it's the exact opposite of the Earth Dawn Illusionist. It's nothing like the Earth Dawn Illusionist. So, yeah.
You know, why you have to make fun of a jester? He's got to feed his family. Don't call him
Right?
buffoon.
Well, he's, an illusionist is going to be erudite, right? Compared to making his way in the world and tricking through his sleight of hand. How gosh. The illusionist is a master of magic. He bends his back in years of study to rise to the level of even a beginner's craft. Let's read that again. He bends his back in years of study to rise to the level of even a beginner in his craft. Who the hell would want to do it then?
Because illusionists are boss, apparently, so far.
They pretty much are, yeah.
Yeah.
The illusionist is a master of time and substance. Okay, that's a little weird.
Yep.
His abilities transcend the simple illusions of a trickster. Rather, the illusionist conjures material from the essence of the world around him. His illusions are not simple parlor tricks to fool the weak of mind, but are powerful incantations drawing upon his own powerful mind. He weaves these musings with magic drawn from the world around him, thereby fabricating the very stuff of reality. Illusionists can literally create something from nothing.
Okay, stop.
It's Philosopher's Stone, man.
I know, but no, this is now getting dumb. All right. You take an established thing like an illusionist and you make a couple of changes for your game, fine. But what they're doing is so far away from illusionist. Why are you calling a spade a wheel? That's what's happening here. What the thing they're describing as an illusionist is so far away from the normal definition of the word illusionist. It's a different thing. Call it something different. I don't understand. Why have an illusionist if you're not going to use an illusionist?
I mean, personally, I don't have a problem with it. I like it.
No. The class itself is great, but it's so far away from the established definition of illusionist. Call it something else.
So I think
like 3 pages of real estate redefining what illusionist is. Just call it something different and move on.
Now, that part of it, I don't necessarily disagree with you, but from my perspective, the reason why I like this is because it gets away from the whole, oh, I know Heathen Dog's an illusionist. Well, it's not real. I roll my save. Oh, it's not real. I roll my save. I see through it.
If you don't call me an illusionist, you don't have to spend all that time redefining illusionist.
It's still casting. I mean, when you look at the spell list, it's still going to match the D&D illusionist set.
It doesn't match it in function.
I don't know. Like I said, I have zero issues with it. I like this take on it. If this was Dungeons and Dragons, I would complain because this is not a Dungeons and Dragons illusionist. But for somebody, doing a different game, I don't have a problem with it at all. Mm-hmm. Some chat here. If you look at the learning spells and reading scrolls spellbook, as well as the last sentence on page 73, you will see there are 2 ways to take spells from scrolls and put them in a book. I think, yeah, we read through that. No, we're not there yet. I haven't read it yet. Learn normally and have all the cost and time of writing it. Yes, read it directly into the book and skip the time and cost requirements, which would explain why you're getting it one advantage, so you lose the spell in the process. I mean, I'm not the one with the heartburn. For once, I'm not complaining. What's up with that? Okay, I should be. Where are we now? But I will say that I think part of, Heathen Dog isn't saying it out loud, but I think part of his take is the fact that, okay, really, you've told us over and over again, illusionists are different. I think there could be a more succinct way that this could be done. Yeah,
by not calling them illusionists is the most succinct way that you could overcome this particular hurdle.
Call them reality benders.
Probably something better than that, but yeah.
Misconception exists that someone knowing an illusionist is an illusionist would therefore possess some kind of immunity to his illusions. This idea is an absolute misreading of the class's descriptor. By the way, this is the page I was talking about. You're going to read Clerics and Druids because I'd rather stab somebody than read this section.
Okay.
First, no illusionist... God, I can't even say the word now. No illusionist would introduce himself as an illusionist. That would be as silly as someone introducing himself as an assassin, rogue, or thief. Such titles would immediately make others wary of the individual, and in some cases could prove to be an automatic death sentence. Again, extrapolating more and more, like, understand illusionists are different in this game. Got it. I just, you know what? The more I read this, the more I'm not on Heathen Dog's side. I actually don't mind the illusionist name, but I think that these gut punches about, hey, dummy, pick it up. Do you understand yet? Do you understand? Do you understand yet?
Yeah, they're going through so much effort to redefine illusionist when it'd be so much easier just to not call him illusionist. Call him something else. That way you can define your own thing, not redefine somebody else's thing.
I think this paragraph right here would be enough for everything, like including the ones way up above and so forth.
Yeah, you'd think, but they didn't.
Well, right, no, but I think this right here has enough information in it to this one specific. It has enough information in it. But let's go on here. Second, an illusionist magic does not require belief. Notice that's italicized because they're not clerics now.
Right.
As noted above, this is a misconception of the class and its abilities. The illusionist is no trickster, and one cannot simply choose to disbelieve the illusionist magic. This is the point that I was getting at a little bit ago.
Yep.
Thereby rendering his spells ineffective. This is simply not the case, though some of the illusionist spells are hypnotic. Many, if not most of the illusionist spells have real, tangible effects regardless of the victim's belief. By the way, that should be the, not there, but the victim's belief. This paragraph is an important one also. Put this one with this one, and you don't need, and I'd say even only half of this one, and you don't need like the other 20 paragraphs that have been going involved in this. So, the illusionist is not a less than adequate mage. No, I think you pretty much described that this thing is a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah, I mean, having read this, I would never play a regular mage. I'd always play an illusionist. It's not even a contest at this point.
Until you cast a couple of spells and realize they're the same thing as D&D illusions. But hey, he is an adventurer with the ability to wield powerful sorcery, summoning and shaping the world around him like no other, bringing to life reality created by his own mind.
Yeah, I'm sold. I'm sold. This is old world.
I said I get to play it first.
Magic.
Oh, yeah, good point.
Yeah.
But I called it first.
Oh,
his power does not reside within the victim of his spells. Remember I said this earlier?
Yep.
Instead, the illusionist's power lies within the illusionist himself and his ability to manipulate the world around him and the magic inherent in the world. If anything, the illusionist is superior to the standard mage,
you think?
As he can fabricate something from nothing.
Yeah, and I don't know how many people missed it when they gave an example of the illusion being real, where the illusionist casts Cure Critical Wounds, which is a priest spell, and it worked.
Well, it's a priest spell in D&D. It's also an illusionist spell here.
Yeah, but it's normally in the purview of a cleric, so healing powers. But an illusionist gets it. Does a mage get it? I don't think so. I don't know, but probably not, because the illusionist just flat out doesn't give a fuck. Like, no, it's mine. I do whatever I want, bitches.
The illusionist's job is to bend reality.
Yeah,
and you know what?
Break the game as many possible times as you can. Great.
Krantz made a good point, right?
Illusionist.
You could tell what class is the game designer's favorite. I don't know if it's the game designer's favorite, but I will say that the game designer is very impressed with this write-up.
Yeah.
And with that, boom, subscribe. Don't forget to subscribe. Remember, we have a giveaway at 2,000 subscribers. I don't know how we're going to do it yet, but we are going to give away some tabletop RPG books at 2,000 subscribers. So that back up. All right. Getting towards the end here to where Heathen Dog can start reading, because I remember reading this section. Like I said, I'd rather stab somebody than read it. Okay. Additionally, it's worth noting that not every spell in the illusionist cast is an illusion. Duh, you've said this. Can you stop saying this, please? And all illusions do not work in the same way. Again, this is why I likened it originally to the Earthdawn Illusionist. But the Earthdawn Illusionist literally has two different spells: Ephemeral Bolt and True Ephemeral Bolt.
Yes.
Although I think in 4th edition they combine the two. But either way, I can't remember. But in 1st, 2nd edition, it's Ephemeral Bolt and True Ephemeral Bolt. The reason that one could hurt you is because you didn't know. If Ephemeral Bolt actually could do more damage to you, but it was an illusion. So there were ways to possibly see through it.
If you successfully disbelieve it, it does nothing, but it'll do more if you decide not to. And the true ephemeral bolt is
you can disbelieve it all you want.
Yeah, like try and disbelieve this. No, bitch, it's real. It does less damage, but what you have to play, it's kind of like playing rock, paper, scissors all the time.
Yep.
You know, you have to psychologically game your opponent. Throw out an illusion. Throw out an illusion. Oh, he's starting to disbelieve. Throw out something real. Shake his world. He won't disbelieve the next one, so it's going to be an illusion. You know, like that. Yeah, you have to.
So I became kind of a dick in Earthdawn as a game master when it came to that. If I noticed that the players were always disbelieving, because I never, well, with the exception of Bob, I never really had an illusionist player in my games. I always kind of frowned upon people playing the illusionist because, I mean, spells like Fun with Doors and so forth seem to just get in the way of the game.
Yeah.
Yeah. But what I would do is if they start disbelieving everything, I would say, okay, you going to let this hit you? Well, it's an illusion. Great. Your spell defense is now 2. I would treat it as if the character accepted the spell.
Oh, okay. I get it.
You know how quickly that turned into an armor defeating hit when the spell defense is 2?
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah. So I didn't do it a lot, and I don't think I did it with your group. I may have, I can't remember. But it'd be one of those things where it's like, okay, now you're just saying it's an illusionist it's an illusion because he's an illusionist. Okay, these might, where are we? The Castle Keeper cannot have a too literal definition. This is for you, Heathen Dog. Too literal. Don't be too literal. Okay.
Stop it.
Castle Keepers cannot have a too literal definition of the illusionist. Doing so kills the usefulness and creative potential of the class itself. As with many things in the C&C game, the Castle Keeper and players must think outside the box. You've given me a really big box, though.
Yeah.
The following section details 4 different interpretations of illusions. 4. Ugh. These might apply to only a few spells or all of them as the game requires. It is up to the Castle Keeper, often consulting with the players to determine the nature of the illusionist and his spells. Each spell may be different than the next, but some understanding of this must be arrived at before the game begins. For more, refer to the Castle Keeper Guide, which I don't have a copy of because it costs money. This was free. By the way, I don't have it up on my... Can I do this? I cannot do that. Go to trolllord.com. That's troll is in the monster, lord is in oh my lord, and .com. Trolllord.com. You can get what I'm reading right now for free. Okay. C&C, last section I'm reading for now. Castle Crusade has taken a wholly unique approach to illusory magic and making the illusion real. Baseball bat to the skull. Again. Yep. Stepping on my neck. I'm down. I got it. This is not because of the weakness of the target, nor because of his inability to discern the real life from unreal. It rests in the power of the illusionist. The more powerful the illusionist, the greater the impact the illusionist and his spells can have on the game. If the illusionist is an actual spellcaster... Wait, what? It is an actual spellcaster. Okay. If the illusionist is an actual spellcaster capable of manipulating the world around him, then logic and the enterprise, there we go, the word eventually arrive at the healer's door. You know what? Okay. Yeah. I don't, because I'm a grognard and I don't think that wizards should be allowed to heal.
But here we are. This is where we live now.
Yeah. But I get the concept. I get the idea. Could you imagine without this paragraph if somebody came up to me, I want my illusionist to heal. Shut up, play cleric then. You know? But right here, it's saying, hold on, allow the imagination to flow. Compare that to rogue reading the scroll, which destroys the scroll. Both rogue and wizard have performed into attribute check with the spells of seal. Okay. I'll get to that comment in a moment. Let me finish up this paragraph here. In Castle Crusade, illusionist can heal damage. Wow. Just, there you go. Primary
right
sentence of the paragraph.
Yep.
Did I say paragraph?
Yes, you did.
Wow.
Push through. You're fine.
Yeah, okay. They heal damage in the same manner in which they cause damage, not by tricking their targets, but rather by projecting their own magical power into the target and changing the nature of time and substance. Wow. They do not trick the target's mind into physically healing itself. That assumption assumes the target is mentally able to do such a thing. The power of the illusionist does not reside in the target. The illusionist's power solely resides in the illusionist. Illusionists heal through their own magic, while a cleric channels the magic of a deity, serving as a bridge between the deity and the target to heal it. An illusionist An illusionist channels or controls the natural magic of the world around him, using the target's own mind as the bridge between the magic and the target. The more powerful the illusionist, the greater his ability to cross that bridge. My only comment for all of this is I did not need 17 paragraphs of explanation. Actually, I like this last paragraph. As far as the explanations go, I think this helps. Trim it down to 3 of them. Like this one and this one maybe right there, and then this one or something, and you're good. I really think that you hit us a little too hard with that baseball bat. Other than that, I like this change to the illusionist. Heathen Dog's got his skepticism. I'm cool with that, and I understand why, but I like it. I think as this game is not Dungeons and Dragons, although it's based on it, I like this interpretation of it. I really want to play an illusionist, and I actually do kind of know the spells that the illusionists get. And I might even say they might be OP. But with that, now we're going to read some horrible grammar, and I'm going to read some chat first if Heathen Dog's okay with that.
Yeah. First, I'm going to say I have 2 problems with illusionists, and they're pretty big.
Okay.
The first one is fundamental, and the next one is about arcane magic and everything else. The fundamental problem is it's not an illusionist. Okay. I don't care how you want to define it. You're using a word that has meant something for 50, 100 billion years, and you're trying to change the definition solely for your game. The ego and narcissism in that notwithstanding, it's stupid.
Wow. Okay.
Stop it. They're not illusionists. They're not. Call them something else, because that's what they are. They're something else.
Chaos mage.
That I would take it. I would take it. That's fine. But the illusionist in this game is a mage in World of Darkness. That's what they are. That's what you define them as. Not an illusionist. Stop being stupid. Stop it.
So you see it as just somebody who just breaks reality.
Yeah,
generally speaking. Okay.
Yeah, they alter reality. That's what they do. They actually alter reality, which is not.
So, for the sake of argument, they called this class the sorcerer, you'd have less problems with it.
I'd have no problem with it. I would have no problem fundamentally with it if they called it something else. No
reality is just an opinion. One I happen to disagree with. That's from Lost Ogre. Yeah. Shazar says it sounds more like a psionicist. No, because a psionicist is more, it's not about the powers for the psionicist, it's about how the powers are used. This isn't done by mental thought. This is still done by casting spells. It's still done by learning the spells and so forth.
But I get where he's coming from. But call it Doctor Strange. Yes, whatever they call, did they call themselves sorcerers? I don't know. Do they? I think they do. But yeah, not an illusionist. I don't care what you say. This is not an illusionist. You can't take a battery, whatever. You look at a battery. Everyone sees that. That's a battery. That's a battery. And say, no, that's a carburetor. You can't do that. You look like a fucking idiot when you try and do that. That's what they're doing here. They're shooting themselves in the foot, calling an illusionist something that it's not. So that's my problem. My other problem is less fundamental, but having read this and having read generic arcane magic like a wizard, why would anyone want to play a wizard?
Spell selection.
But they made the illusionist sound so much cooler.
No, they did. They absolutely
really did. I mean, having read both, anyone who chooses, oh no, I'll be a wizard. Everyone else is like, why? Well, I get more spells, but look at this.
I'm with you. So I don't know if you're looking at the YouTube side of chat. Oh dang, I don't know why I missed that. I thought rogues could cast wizard scrolls. We're not there yet to that portion to find out, or maybe we passed it accidentally. But as far as this game goes, but hey, we're reading through the book the first time. I've skimmed through it, and I knew what was going to happen with the illusionist way more than Heathen Dog did. Maybe that's why it isn't affecting me so much. But we're learning this game as we're reading it here. So, but let's be fair. I've played AD&D second edition since, was it 1989 when it came out? First edition before then. And we still get rules wrong. Some of them, because we house ruled them for so many years, I forgot it's not a rule anymore. So it's okay. Right. You know, yeah, sometimes, you know, you just, you skip over something or you miss something.
Yeah. Krantz, I figured that the spell list was going to be the defining thing, because that is mostly for between general mages and all specialists. Specialists are more powerful in their specialty, but their spell list is restricted.
I just learned that
that's usually what happens in a lot of games.
I just learned that Shadzar doesn't listen to us.
Oh, okay.
He said it just said that it's done by the target's mind.
Having read the description for both, based on the description, only an idiot would choose a regular mage over an illusionist because these pages have talked up the illusionist so much that
yes,
making another choice seems ridiculous at this point.
So Shadzar, the target's own mind does not cast the spell. It is the bridge for the spell, like a deity is a bridge.
Right.
Like the prayer for the deity. So it's not the target's mind. In fact, it's specific. It emphatically says
it's the power rests within the illusionist.
It does not reside in the target.
No, you're not tricking him into doing it himself.
Oh,
you're
he just got
reality into doing it for you.
Okay, no, I'll forgive you on that one then. He's like, I just got here, no problem.
Okay.
All right, so
an illusionist actually alters reality, which is the opposite of what the definition of illusionist is. That's my big problem. That's my huge problem with that.
And you know what? I the more you mention it, the more I'm leaning to slowly agree with you on this one. You haven't won me over yet, but I get it, and I would not have heartburn if they changed the name. I also though wouldn't have heartburn if they kept the name, but I get where you're coming from.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right,
everything's off the screen. Go ahead. Yep.
All right. Characters who can cast divine spells undertake a certain amount of study of divine magic between adventures. What? Okay, let's keep going. You're tripping me up with that first sentence, but okay. Each time a character receives a new level of divine spells, the character learns new spells from that level automatically. For example, a cleric reaching 3rd level is granted knowledge to all spells on the 2nd level cleric spell list by their deity. That's fine. I understand the meaning of that, and I have no problem with it, but they're talking about learning. It's not learning, you're granted. Like the last sentence, granted knowledge of all spells. Great. Then why does it say learning?
Well, I think that's a difference between player versus character knowledge. Okay. The character is actually learning from like a catechism, the proverbial Bible, whatever it happens to be for the god, and so forth. Well, the player is like, I get these spells. That's where I'm.
Okay.
That's my guess.
Additionally, a cleric or druid can research a spell independently. Why would they have? Okay. Only the creator of such a spell can prepare and cast it unless the character decides to share it with others. Some such creators share their research with their churches, but others do not. The character can create magic scroll, provided they are high enough level, or write a special text similar to a spell book to contain spells the character has independently researched. Other divine spellcasters who find the spell written can learn from it, learn to cast it, provided they are sufficient level to do so and are of the same class as the creator. The process requires deciphering the writing. See, I have a problem with this. Right off the bat, it seems like that a cleric can research a brand new spell and no one else can use it unless they learn it from a scroll or a spell book written by the creator, which is wrong. You're doing it wrong. Stop it.
I think it's if it's outside your deity or whatever.
But you shouldn't be able to cast if it's outside your deity. You're a cleric.
I'm with you on that one. I have no defense of that. At all. I have no defense of that one. I agree with you.
Yeah, if it didn't come from God, it doesn't come. That's it. Sorry, buddy. Now there for druids, there is a way to make that happen. For druids, there is a way. Because if you're praying to a fundamental force of nature like fire or water or whatever, the aspect of fire, then learning to channel that generalistic thing differently could come with a different spell. I get that. But an established thinking deity gives you all the spells of level 2. That's all the spells of level 2, man. That's all of them. You can't make up stuff because then it doesn't come from God. So you don't get it. So
well, maybe you're preaching the word. I don't know. First of all, I have issues with the way the paragraph is written, so I obviously didn't study it harder. But yeah, even thinking it through right now, mechanically, I get it.
Yeah,
Conceptually, I don't like it.
You don't want to like kneecap them against wizards, okay? But you have to in this case. You have to.
As long as the cleric's in good standing with his or her god, why should it be a problem to learn the spells anyway?
Because you're now saying that you know more than God because you can create magic that he didn't give you access to in the beginning.
I'm not questioning you. I'm just saying, like, but if I'm a cleric in good standing, shouldn't I just get the spells I pray for? You know, like why? I guess
you get all the spells your God gives you. You can't ask for spells your God doesn't give you.
Well, right now, I follow the god of what did we say before? Oh, I follow the goddess of moon magic, right? So I do darkness and maybe some illusory stuff here and there, right? Well, you follow the sun god. Well, I want the light spell. My god should say, you can cast it, buddy. Go ahead. Cast. Kind of like what I said about water earlier, right? Where it's like, I'll let you have the water spell.
That's just mean, though. I'm not going to be that mean to players. Like, no, you pray to a goddess of darkness.
Right.
You cannot cast light spells, but I can research it. No, you can't because I'm not dumb.
Right. That would be my answer as well. I'm just maybe this is another AMA question.
That entire paragraph at all. Fuck that. Okay. Fuck that whole paragraph. Just get it out.
And fuck it for its grammatical use too. But now,
okay. Well, no. Even the idea behind it is ridiculous, and whoever wrote that should be flogged. For apparently more than one reason. All right. Divine magical writings. Divine spells can be written down and deciphered just as arcane spells can, except read magic is not used to do so. Instead, the character can decipher and learn the new spell from the scroll by spending 1 day plus 1 day per level of the spell being learned in study of it. Only characters who have the spell in question on their class-based spell list can cast divine spells from a scroll. Okay. You don't need to cast read magic on a divine scroll to read it.
But it takes time.
God wants you to, just be able to do it. Okay, cool. But what is this deciphering, learn the spell from the scroll? Why? Again, either God gave you the spell, the ability
but
to use
is your wisdom, are you wise enough in the ways of the Lord to actually understand the spell?
Okay, no, this is learn, not cast.
No. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, to learn it.
Yeah, no, like you don't get to learn it because God didn't give it to you. Shut the fuck up. This game is breaking badly in my head right now. Badly.
I think this might be one of those things that we have to see in practice.
Yeah, this is bad. Okay,
because I'm skeptical. I'm just to be clear, I'm very skeptical. I'm not where you are, but I'm very skeptical.
Yeah,
but I'd have to see.
They misunderstand what clerical magic is all about so far. Okay, a character who wishes to cast a spell announces his intention to the castle keeper during the character's initiative turn. Fine. Character must make all pertinent decisions about a spell, range, target, area, effect when the character begins casting, unless the spell specifies otherwise. Yeah, like you must cast it 20 yards away, whatever.
But by the way, you notice that the language has reverted back to something readable again?
Yeah.
This was the good editor.
Yeah, got it. The character must make some choice about whom the spell is to affect, where the spell is to originate. Depending on the spell type, the cast keeper applies whatever results the spell entails during the spell's description. Sure. Okay, to cast a spell, the character must be able to speak if the spell is a verb component, gesture if it has a somatic component, and have the materials if it has material component. The spell description indicates which components are necessary. Additionally, the character must concentrate to cast a spell. Sure. If something interrupts the cast concentration while casting, the spell is lost and marked off the character's list of prepared spells. That's pretty common. Okay.
But they do, you'll see, you can see it right below there. There is concentration.
Yeah, I see it. If the character tries to cast a spell in conditions where the characteristics of the spell, range, whatever, cannot be made to conform, the casting fails and the spell is wasted. Okay, yeah, like you're trying to cast a fireball underwater, or you're trying to cast a wall that has to anchor on 2 points, but there are no 2 points close enough. Fails. Okay. Great.
Isn't that the rule in D&D too?
Yeah. Many spell durations are measured in rounds, minutes, hours, or some other increment. When the duration expires, the spell's effect ends. Sure. Okay. I'm with it on board. I'm on board. Okay. Concentration. Okay, we're going to get the definition of concentration here. To cast a spell, the character must concentrate. Thank you. If something interrupts the character's concentration while the character is casting, the spell is lost and marked off the character's list. Sometimes the castle keeper may allow a concentration check to see if the spell is simply disrupted and not lost, or not even interrupted. Okay. Sometimes there's so much at stake with this concentration thing. I would be pissed off if the Castle Keeper did not give me a check of some kind.
We've talked about this before, and this is where you and I kind of disagree. I don't disagree wholeheartedly, but to me, that's about positioning. It's about having the characters protecting you the way they're supposed to and so forth. But at the same time, if I take 1 point, if I got 30 hit points, okay, we're talking wizards.
If you got 90 hit points and you take 1 point of damage, right. You're like, oh, no, concentration broken. Like, come on, dude, 1/90th of my life. I can stub my toe and like 1/90th of my life. Oh my God, I dropped all the spells in my memory. Fuck you. No.
Right. On the flip side, using the Earthdawn terminology, if you take a wound, yeah, I think it's probably gone.
If you take a significant portion of your maximum hit points in one go, then yeah, okay, you don't get a roll because that you've obviously lost an arm or broken your collarbone or femur or whatever. It is a significant detriment. You lost concentration. Great.
So this is why I think the sometimes thing is in there, because it's a judgment call by the Castle Keeper.
Instead of making it wholly ambiguous and completely up to the Castle Keeper, you should have some kind of threshold. Like if you take points of damage equal to or exceeding your constitution, you do not get a save. You just lose concentration. Something like that I could get with.
I tend to like more ambiguity, so
I know,
I'm okay with it.
Players don't. So
well, they just always players remember this: the game master is always in charge.
Yeah. It's
the game master's game. And now we're not going to probably talk about it today, but we can get to the next section where it talks about adventuring and so forth. This says Shadzar is going to freaking smoke should be come out of his ears, and there's going to be a lot of crazy going on because it probably says a lot of things he doesn't like, but it does talk about collaboration between players and Castle Keepers. So there is that. But ultimately, Castle Keeper's in charge, not you, not me. So I do want to say hello to Travis. He said afternoon all.
Hello, Travis.
Back to you.
Okay, sorry. All right. The concentration. Getting hurt or being affected by hostile magic while trying to cast a spell can break the character's concentration and ruin a spell. Fair. If while trying to cast a spell, the character takes damage, fails a saving throw, or is otherwise successfully assaulted, the character's casting is disrupted unless the Castle Keeper allows a concentration check. The interrupting event strikes during a spell casting if it comes during the time when the character starts and completes a spell. For a spell with a casting time of more than one full round. Anything that could break the character's concentration when casting a spell can also break the concentration necessary to maintain a spell. A character can't cast a spell while concentrating on another one. Okay, so there is no maintaining a spell and casting another spell.
No spell stacking, no.
Yeah, no spell stacking. But we'll find this out when we look at the spell descriptions. Is there a difference between maintaining a spell and a spell's duration? Do you have to maintain it throughout the entire duration?
As far as I'm now, that part I don't actually have a direct answer for, but my understanding is no. One of the things I see the interrupting, blah blah blah, anything that could break the caster's concentration. Oh, where the hell was it? Never mind. Just go. There was something I wanted to comment on, but I forgot what it was.
Okay, so we will find out later.
It's the round thing.
Duration and maintenance are linked.
So initiative is important in this regard.
Yeah. Yes.
So if your
if
initiative
you get hit before your initiative starts, nothing was ruined.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
Mm-mm. But you'll see because they talk about it.
Okay. Only spells the character can cast while grappling or pinned are those without somatic components and whose material components the character has in hand at the time. Even so, the Castle Keeper will often require a concentration check for the character to cast a spell. Vigorous motions, such as riding a mount or rocking in a small boat in rough water, simply being jostled in a similar fashion, might necessitate a concentration check.
The reason that doesn't bother me so much is because if you actually read the rule of spellcasting in 2nd edition AD&D, the caster cannot move at all. Caster is in place. Nobody ever follows the rule.
No, that's dumb.
But the rule is cannot move. You cast at that location.
Yeah, the examples they give, except for being jostled, because that's nothing. But being in a small boat in rough water, vigorous motion, yeah, okay, yeah, I can get that. You know, I mean, that's just you're trying to do your somatic component thing, and you're in vigorous motion. Oh shit, fuck that one up. You know, so yeah, I get that. But jostled, come on, man. That's jostled. I jostled him and fucked him all up. No, you didn't. Jostling never screws anybody up. Stop it. All right, using scrolls. Scrolls are spells reduced to portable form. Thank you. Not only does a scroll contain the text of a spell, all the necessary components except verbal have been magically incorporated into the scroll. Okay. Before using a scroll, a character must decipher it by casting read magic, unless it's
there you go.
unless it's a divine scroll, apparently. Character can then read the scroll aloud, casting the spell contained on it, just as if the character had the spell prepared. The spell's casting time, range, area effect, duration, and all their details and limitations are no different.
So the question becomes, what classes can use read magic? Oh wait,
all of them.
So does this mean that nobody can use scrolls except for wizards and illusionists?
What you mean? Clerics can't use read magic?
It's casting read magic.
Oh.
It's a spell.
Well, they have spells because maybe they can read magic. But
earlier, use the read magic scroll, read magic on the read magic scroll in order to read the fireball spell.
No. What I mean is, earlier it said that reading a divine scroll does not require read magic. It said that earlier.
Right. Okay, so you can cast healing spells, but not fireballs. Got it.
Okay, the spell's cast time, range, or effect, duration, all other deals. Okay. Spell containing a scroll can only be cast once. When the spell is cast from a scroll, the spell disappears and destroys the scroll. Okay, fair. There are some limitations on the use of scroll, of course. Character must be of a class that can cast the type of spells contained in the scroll. There you go. I mean, so a wizard can't use a cleric scroll. A rogue can't use any scrolls. Fighter can't use any scrolls. You have to be able to cast the type of spells to cast from a scroll.
You know, part of me likes that.
Yeah.
Because I don't know, it never made me mad, but I always got kind of like, when the warrior had like 10 scrolls on. Actually, the warrior couldn't use scrolls. It was the rogue.
The rogue and ranger and other stuff. They can use scrolls. But
and
not,
it just
not here.
Just seemed like it defeated some of the
uniqueness of the classes.
Yeah, and I like to the role, like know your role, right?
Yeah. Stay in your lane.
Exactly. Yes, There you go.
Okay, a character can cast a spell from a scroll they do not have learned or recorded in their spell book. Of course, because then it would be worthless, wouldn't it? However, the character must be a high enough level to cast a spell, the level of spell found on the scroll. For example, a second level wizard finds a scroll, casts read magic on it, revealing it contains a first level spell, magic missile. The wizard had not previously learned magic missile, does not have it recorded in his spell book. The wizard, however, can cast first level spells and thus can cast magic missile from the scroll.
Screw that. That would go in my spell book.
Yeah, definitely. I don't have magic missile. Fuck that. I'm going to my... Yeah, I get that. Character can attempt to use a scroll to cast a spell of a level they're not normally able to cast, but they must first make an intelligence check to do so. A penalty for the intelligence check equal to the level of spell is applied to the roll. For example, second level wizard deciphers a scroll bearing teleport, which is a 5th level spell the wizard cannot normally cast. The wizard attempts to cast a spell from the scroll, but he must first make a successful intelligence check with a challenge level of 5.
Which we have not gone into those challenge levels
yet. I imagine it's a minus five detriment or whatever, or plus 5 detriment. Yeah.
That's my guess too.
But if you think about it, with 8... It's important to note that it's not the difference between the level you can cast and the level. It's the total level.
So if you're an 8th level, or if you can cast 8th level spells, but you can't cast 9th level spells, and you still want to get that 9th level spell, and you're just
challenge level 9.
Yep.
Just you're exactly the same boat as a first level wizard.
Yep. I'm 10 XP away from being able to cast that 9th level spell. Too bad.
Sorry. Minus 9. So yeah, that's a little harsh, but hey,
I'm okay with that, because you're talking about a caster casting a spell of higher level than the caster's capability already.
Oh, here we go.
If you think about it, 9th level spells are like the epitome of universal mathematics, so I don't have a problem with it.
Yeah, it's fine. Here we go. Spells can be learned and copied from scrolls normally, and doing so does not destroy the scroll.
There you go.
There it is. Because you're not moving the magic, you're just moving the formula. You've already imbued the magic into the thing. You're not transferring it to your book. So you probably can't cast from a book. This is if they say you can cast from a book, I call bullshit and all magic in this game.
Lost Ogre asks, can the
Okay.
illusionist cast a spell that makes him think he's a high enough level?
There you go. Then that would work, right? That would work. But yeah, the magic in this game is on the very ragged edge of bullshit in my mind so far. Very ragged edge. You're okay, game. You're walking a line, bro. You better step on one side.
I like it. I got your back, game so far. We'll see what happens in the next pages. You might lose me.
Spell description format. Okay, good. We're finally getting description. As mentioned, each spell is defined by a description of the effect it causes and a set terms necessary for gameplay. Great.
Yeah.
The spell descriptions appear after the class spell list. A summary or reminder on a spell format and terms appears prior to the spell description, but the blah, 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 blah. Okay. Casting time.
Just read this for example.
Okay, for example, Cardum the Chromatic. Okay. Rolls a 6 for initiative, and he acts third in that round after his fighting companion Quinn and the ogre they are fighting. Cardum casts a spell with a casting time of 1 round. The spell takes effect that round. If Cardum chose to cast a spell with a casting time of 2, then the spell would take effect in the next round of combat during Cardum's turn for the next round. Okay, all right. So casting time is in rounds. If it's 1, it takes effect this round. If it's 2, it takes effect the next round. And so
on your initiative. So you could roll crap initiative next round and go,
I gotta cast throughout the entire round. I'm a giant target. So if Cardum acted first in the next round, the spell would take effect then. But if he acted last, then it would take effect after all the others had taken their action. Okay. All right. That just makes because casting time is in rounds in that one.
Yeah, most of them are 1 round.
Turns.
Like Fireball's 1 round. I mean, that's just kind
of just goes off, right? So 1 is the same as instantaneous.
Okay.
Why that? What? Okay, I got a problem again. Oh, God damn it, game. Why are you doing this to me? Casting time of 1 is instantaneous.
Okay.
It goes off on your turn that round. Casting time of 2 is actually a casting time of 1 because it takes 1 round.
You count your current round?
No, because casting time of 1 is actually instantaneous.
Well, you're changing the definition of it.
No, casting I'm not. Casting time of 1.
No, casting time of 1, CT1.
Yep.
Comes into effect during the caster's initiative term for that round.
Yeah, that's called instantaneous. In English, that's called then. That's called now.
So you declare first. It's like Earth Dawn. You declare your actions first.
Right.
Think of that as starting your casting.
And then on your initiative, your spell goes off.
Right.
With a casting time of 1. In all other places in the world, we call that instantaneous. Not a casting time of 1 round.
If you want to focus on that, go focus on that. I get it, and it doesn't bother me.
Okay, but a casting time of 2 isn't actually 2 rounds, it's 1 round.
No, it's 2. It's the round you're currently in and the next round.
No, because we've already defined casting time.
No, you've defined, but incorrectly.
No, it's not me, it's English. Don't look at me. Don't look at me. I'm just telling you what words really are. 1
round is this round. Remember, the round starts with the declaration phase. I've declared I'm going to cast Fireball.
But it doesn't take a whole round. It depends on if you go last round. If you go first in the round, then that's not a whole round for all of the other people.
Well, you just your spell went off before they turn around and go, oh, crap.
So that's not 1 round. It's 1 segment or whatever.
Okay.
All right. Most castle keepers make you announce at the beginning of the round whether you're going to cast a spell. Fair. If so, and you roll a low initiative roll, then you have a chance of being struck before the spell goes off. For those castle keepers who do not require announcement, some disallow any spell in the same round in which you were hit before your initiative turn. That's a dick move. Don't ever do that. For castle keepers who do neither of the above, it would be more a situation of simultaneous swings with an enemy of some of the environment, magical effect, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Yeah, it all depends on how they handle initiative.
By the way, the reason I was arguing with Heathen Dogs because I knew this paragraph was going to read. And that's kind of the point. It depends on how
they handle initiative, right?
Yep.
So casting time is meaningful or not, depending on your castle.
I am not one of those people that says it slows down the game and pulls people away from it by declaring actions, rolling initiative, taking your turn. But I also make the players go, well, okay, so what I could do, no, you declared at the beginning of your round that you were going to cast Fireball. What the fuck does that do? Roll your Fireball or what, well, let me see. Where do I want to place it? Come on. Okay, you cast Fireball right there, but I wasn't sure. You threw it out that direction. That's what you're doing. We got to move on. I'm not that quick about it. I'm doing some of this because we're on the stream right now. I'll give them 5 to 10 seconds. But the point is like, I make you go when I'm game mastering that stuff. You don't get to pull out rulers or guess or start doing long form division. You tell me what the hell you're doing and let's move on. So with that, I don't mind the whole declare and so forth. For those people who do like battle maps and have to plot everything out in square feet and, hexes and squares and whatever the hell else, Heathen Dog does call it a dick move, and I tend to agree with them. I can understand they're just like, whatever, just you were hit, spell's gone, next. Because it's the only way to keep the damn game moving without people trying to, penny pinch every square they're in. Spaceballs. This is now. Yes, what about
exactly.
That was then.
Exactly what I was thinking of. Yeah, that's what they did with casting time. All right, I hate magic in this game, by the way. All right, range. A spell's range is the maximum distance from a character that the spell's effect can occur, as well as the maximum distance at which the character can designate the spell's point of origin. Okay. That is very
Mystic Legion,
wording.
That's a different game, sir.
That is very specific wording.
I'm sorry, I was reading chat. What would you read?
A spell's range is the maximum distance from the character that the spell's effect can occur, as well as the maximum distance at which the character can designate the spell's point of origin.
So you can throw that fireball at... No, you're right. You can throw that fireball at max range, and it's not going to poof out that way at all. It's only going to poof this way.
Backward, yes. It will only go back toward you because you've hit the range of both the spell and the spell effect.
I read that. Yes, you're right.
That is disastrous for the player. It's like, oh my God, I can't game that. Fuck. All right. The character aims a spell by making some choice about whom the spell is to affect, or whether the effect is to originate, depending on the type of spell. If any portion of the spell's area extends beyond the range, that area is wasted, and then it just solidifies that. If anyone would have any doubt,
but it does say it's wasted. It doesn't say it blows back.
No, it's wasted. No, it doesn't blow back. But that area effect just doesn't affect anything. It doesn't happen.
Yep.
Sometimes the range of a spell is listed as personal, affecting only the caster, or touch. The caster must touch a creature or object, as noted in the spell description. Many spells have a range expressed in feet. A few spells have an unlimited range, meaning the effects can reach anywhere on the plane. That paragraph was not necessary at all.
Well, I think it was for new players. For people new to this type of stuff. For you and me, yeah. I mean, it's just like, thank you for... I want those 20 seconds left back. But hey, Krantz, I agree with you. I do like that as well. You were talking about the range stuff.
Oh, right. Yeah. I get it. Sometimes it doesn't make sense, though. Like fireballs explode out in all directions.
But it's magic.
Yeah. I don't know.
Kind of like a real explosion, shockwave coming back.
There are some things I like about it, and some things that don't make sense to me, but I'll go with it. I mean, Matt, this game already sucks with magic, so I'm not gonna harp on it. All right. Target or area effect. Spells that do not affect the caster personally generally have a target or affect a certain area. Fair. This part of spell description defines the number of creatures, dimensions, volume, weight, and so on the spell effects, if it is not otherwise obvious to the spell description. Okay. Targeted spells. Targeted spells are cast directly on creatures or objects as defined by the spell itself. In most cases, the character must be able to see or touch the target, and the character must specifically choose the target. Fair. If the character casts a targeted spell on the wrong sort of target, the spell has no effect. If the target of the spell is the caster does not receive a saving throw, and the spell resistant does not apply. This is like saying, if you are blinded, then you can't choose a target because you can't see it. But if you can touch something, then you can target it because it's now defined. Okay, great. And you can always touch yourself and you don't receive the saving throw because you don't want one.
I want to see how tough I am. I'm going to try to save.
Fireball! All right, area spells. Some spells affect the area. The character selects where the spell originates, but otherwise does not control which creatures or object the spell will affect. Sometimes a spell describes specifically defined area, but usually an area falls into one of several categories: burst, cone, cylinder, or emanation. Some spells have an area effect like a burst, but the effect continues to radiate from the point of origin, duration of spell. Okay. An area effect spell, you still have to target it.
Yeah, the character selects the spell's point of origin.
Exactly. So that means if you are blind, the only thing you can target is something you're touching or yourself. So you can't cast a fireball out into the blackness. You have to have a target, even if the target is an area. If you can't see the area, you cannot target it. But if you're touching someone, or you can just target yourself.
I'm curious as to this whole blind. Why do you have a lot of blind wizards?
I know, but think of it this way: like the really good way to negate a spellcaster is to blind him, because now he cannot choose targets except himself or thinks he's touching. You can't just cast a lightning bolt in a direction and hope it hits.
Well, I can.
No, you can't. Not in this game. You cannot.
Why not?
Because you have to have a target. And it's
character selects a spell's point of origin. For lightning bolt, you could well, I mean, at least I don't know what it is in this game, but for D&D, you can set it between here and was it 90 feet out or 120 feet out or whatever. I just say
as it has
right outside my finger.
The character burst. The character selects the spell's point of origin. You can't. You're blind.
Right here. Right here. The point of origin is right there, right in front of me. Now go.
The spell bursts out from this point, affecting whatever it catches in the area.
Well, now burst spells actually it's a PBAOE.
Yeah. So it starts you, it goes up, but you're going to be in that spell. That sucks. Cone.
Yeah, that does, yes.
Yeah, you're going to be in that spell rate, so that kind of sucks. Cone shoots away from the character in the direction the character designates. Again, designates. That's targeting. Can you do it while blind? I would say no, because it'd be more funny. Because I hate magic in this game, so I do that.
I would say yes, as long as you're starting it right, like in your area. If you're trying to do it like 17 feet out that way or something, then I'd say no.
No, you can't.
But you already know by playing Earthdawn and other games that I'm against that, even for wizards who can see. I want to set it up exactly 117 feet away from me. You don't know where that is.
Unless you use the triangulate spell, you don't know where.
That's Earthdawn gave it a triangulate spell, which is awesome. I want you to throw a baseball exactly 117 feet and see how many times you actually hit that mark.
You'd be lucky to hit it once. All right. Obstacles. Some spells affect like rays, bursts, and cones are affected by obstacles. Fair. The character must have a clear line of effect to any target that the character casts a spell upon, or to any space in which the character wishes to create an effect. Character must have a clear line of effect to the point of origin of any spell the character casts. For bursts, cones, cylinders, and emanating spells, the character only affects areas, creatures, or objects to which it has a line of effect from the origin. A burst point, blah, blah. I'm having...
Basically, it's saying that stuff can get in the way.
Yeah, I know.
You can use cover.
Yeah, but...
What I like, though, is like the fireball. An otherwise solid barrier with a hole of at least 1 square foot does not block a spell's line of effect. So I guess what? These wizards, they are baseball pitchers, using that analogy again.
Yeah.
I only need 1 square foot. That's like some freaking Tom Brady crap for
fun
when they do this.
Needle.
At the end of the year, like, look at how well I can throw a pass against these target things. I forget what it's called. That's some craziness. But they'll talk about more about the what happens when if you get it through that hole or not later.
Okay.
Blind wizards use familiars. Well, actually, that could possibly work. Yeah.
If the familiars work in this game like they do in many other games where you can see through your familiar's eyes, then yeah. Okay.
I think that's in a different book, though, not in this book.
Yeah, there you go. Then you're fucked. Okay. A caster aims a ray as if using a ranged weapon, though typically the character makes a ranged touch attack rather than
that's to make it so the wizard can actually hit something.
Right. I get it. Armor doesn't take into account for a touch attack, because all I gotta do is touch. You don't have to actually hurt. All right. As with a ranged weapon, the character can fire into the dark or at an invisible creature and hope to hit something. Okay. A ray attack can work even if you're blind. Yeah.
Well, kind of makes sense. You're just pointing that direction.
Right. You're just pointing and pew pew. All right. Intervening creatures and obstacles, however, can block the character's line of sight or provide cover for the creature the character is aiming at. If a ray spell has a duration, the duration refers to the effect that the ray causes, not the length of time the ray itself persists. Bursts and cones spread out from a point of origin to a distance described in the spell. The effect can extend around corners and into areas the caster cannot see. The caster must designate the point of origin for such an effect if the spell description does not specify one. Okay.
What I like You didn't read it, but the emanation spells, that's kind of like, gas cloud and so forth.
Yeah.
They go poof, but then they keep going.
Yeah, they keep radiating out in all directions.
I like the terminology they use in this guy. I know some people just say, well, that's just area of effect or point blank area of effect, if it's centered on the cast or whatever. I actually like these simplified terms here.
I can get that. Okay, duration measure how long a spell's effect lasts. No kidding. Many durations are measured in rounds, minutes, hours, or some other increment. When the time is up, the magic goes away and the spell ends. Fair. Some spells have a permanent duration, and some require a caster to concentrate in order to maintain the spell's effect. Okay, they've made a distinction between concentration and duration. That's good. Character can typically dismiss personal spells at will before the duration ends, or if the spell description so states. A spell that requires concentration is dismissible by its very nature. You just stop concentrating on it. Sometimes a spell lasts for a short time after the character ceases concentrating. In these cases, the spell effect continues for the stated length of time after the concentration stops. Otherwise, the character must concentrate to maintain the spell, but the character cannot maintain it for more than the stated duration. Now we're getting in concentration is duration, is length of duration.
Well, it can be. I mean, there's going to be a maximum duration that you can concentrate for. You don't get to do it all day. You can concentrate for up to, 10 minutes or something on the spell. Then the magic just finally goes away. Okay. But in order to maintain it that long, you still have to concentrate on it.
All right. I don't like it. Magic in this game sucks. Okay. If a spell...
That's not just in this game, though.
But in this game, it sucks worse. If a spell affects creatures directly, the effects travel with the subject for the spell's duration. If the spell creates an effect, the effect lasts for the duration. Okay, let me read that again. If a spell affects creatures directly, the effects travel with the subject for the spell's duration. Okay, so if I cast something that has emanation on a specific person or thing, you move that person or thing, the emanation moves with it. Okay.
If you paralyze it, if it's lit on fire,
right.
Yeah.
Then it moves with the object. Okay, got it. If the spell creates an effect, the effect lasts for the duration. Okay. The effect might, unless you have to also concentrate on it.
Well, it'll last for the duration or the concentration, whichever ends first.
Whichever ends first, or whichever is smaller, whichever is bigger. I don't know. Fuck this game. The effect might move or remain still. Such effect can be destroyed prior to the duration's end. If the spell affects an area, then the spell stays with that area for the spell's duration. Creatures become subject to the spell when they enter the area and become free of it when they leave. Certain spells last for the set duration or until triggered. Okay, this whole paragraph,
I get it.
Worthless.
No. So basically, if it's a DD spell, a direct damage, or I shouldn't call it a direct target spell. If I cast fairy fire on you and you run out of range and so forth, you're still covered in fairy fire.
Yes.
If I cast gaseous cloud and it takes up a certain area, you're only affected by it while you're in it. Once you walk out of it, you're not affected by it.
I completely get that.
Again, this is for new people.
I know, but you could do this in the individual spell description and it'd be fine. Because this whole paragraph is just confusing. I know what it's saying, but it's worded.
Well, maybe it could be worded better. I'm not going to argue about that. I think it could have been worded better as well, because I think I did it I'm verbose and I did it in less words. But
yeah, basically. Saving throw. Most harmful spells allow an affected creature to make a saving throw in order to avoid some or all of the spell's effect. The spell description details whether the spell allows a saving throw, what type of saving throw is made, and the effect of a successful save. If the spell does not include a saving throw, then no saving throw is allowed. Then assume no saving throw is allowed. I like the word assume there because this game is really big on the Castle Keeper's last word.
Yes.
So he can say, no, there is a save because of this, that, or the other.
Because I want there to be.
There you go. A creature that successfully saves against a spell without obvious physical effects feels a hostile force or a tingle, but cannot deduce the exact nature of the attack. Likewise, if a creature saving throw succeeds against a targeted spell, the caster senses that the spell has failed. Okay. Caster does not sense when a creature succeeds a saving throw against effect and area spells. Okay. All right.
I like this paragraph because this is one that gets people into some arguments. I've actually seen arguments for I should know. A spell was cast on me. I should know it was cast on me. Who did it? Where did it come from? Well, first of all, let's be fair. In D&D, it actually says casters can't go and sneak a spell in there. Yep. It says that the caster must talk in
normal voice. You will know where the spell came from because someone was cast. Unless it has no verbal or somatic components, then
right.
fuck you, dude. No, you don't.
But outside of that, I've seen. I know a spell is cast on me. Where did it come from? Where you don't know. You just know that there's this. In this case, there's this little tingle, and I think I like that paragraph because it just ends the argument right there. You felt a tingle. Move on.
Yep, and it creates drama immediately.
Or,
like,
and
oh my God, what happened? I know what happened. Someone tried to cast a spell on me. Who did it? I don't know.
As you see the wizard, the illusionist mind, you're like,
yeah. Was it Colonel Mustard in the observatory? I don't know. We gotta figure this one out.
In the hamper with a dirty towel.
There you go. All right, that's
all
okay. Right. Saving throw challenge level. Spell's challenge level is always equal to the caster's level unless specified otherwise.
That makes sense.
It does. But I'm trying to remember about scrolls. I think it said that the scroll level is the caster, the person who
created it.
No. I don't think it said created. I thought it said the person using it.
I would prefer the person using it, even though I guess realistically, God, to use that word,
yeah.
It would make more sense to be the person who created it.
They're the one who imbued all of the stuff into the scroll.
Right. But I think for game purposes, I like the idea of just every time across the board, it's always the person casting it because it just makes it easier. It moves quicker. So
you don't have to keep those notes.
Oh, tingle! It's a bad touch. Bad touch.
Oh, tingle, bad touch. Exactly right. Negates. This term means the spell has no effect on an affected creature and makes a saving throw. Okay. Partial causes effect on the subject, but a successful saving throw means some lesser effect. Half damage. Sure. None. No saving throws allowed. Disbelief. Successful save lets the subject ignore the effect. Object. The spell can be cast on objects which receive saving throws only if they are magical or if the spell specifies otherwise. Okay, normal objects don't get saving throws. Okay. Harmless. A parenthetical H for little tiny h indicates a harmless spell. The spell is usually not harmful, but targeted creature can attempt a saving throw if it wishes. Okay. Voluntary giving up a saving throw. A creature can voluntarily forego a saving throw and willingly accept a spell's result, even if the character with a special resistance magic can suppress it if he or she wants to. Okay.
Interesting.
All right. Items surviving after a saving throw. Sometimes a spell specifies whether an items in the area effect for the spell are potentially damaged. These items are required to make saving throw or be destroyed. But we already know that only magical things get a saving throw.
Or if specified,
or if they're specified otherwise, yeah. So if they have special exemption, other than that, they don't get a saving throw because they're not magical. All right.
How much more of this is here? Wow, this chapter is longer. Oh, okay, we're almost done.
We're at the end. We're at the end. Spell resistance. Spell resistance is a special defensive ability. Defender's spell resistance is like an armor class against magical attacks. All creatures have a minimum SR of 1. If a spell is being resisted by a defender with spell resistance, the caster of the spell must roll a d20. The result of that d20 must be equal to or greater than the spell resistance of the target.
Thus the one.
Yeah, thus the one. Yeah, so I rolled a 1. Okay. Spell resistance line and or the descriptive text of the spell description explains whether or not the spell resistance applies, as some spells are not affected by target creature's spell resistance. Spell resistance applies even if a given spell also allows a target creature saving throw. The effects of spell resistance, if any, are applied first, and then the creature may also make a saving throw. In most cases, spell resistance applies only when a resistant creature is targeted by a spell, not when a resistant creature encounters a spell that's already in place, such as a wall of iron.
So I like the way this spell resistance works. In D&D, they use a percentile dice. And look, first of all, I'm not against using multiple forms of dice. In fact, I enjoy using different types of dice because it keeps things interesting for me. However, using the way this spell resistance works, I just think, again, it keeps the game simpler, for lack of a better term. I don't, because sometimes I think simple is bad, but it just keeps it consistent. I'm rolling a d20 to attack. I'm rolling a d20 to save. I'm rolling a d20 to get through my resistance. Basically, think of it as you get 2 saves. Kind of, because this really negates, but you get what I'm saying. So you're just rolling the same die. Oh, my resistance didn't kick in. Let me roll my save. If your resistance kicks in, you don't even have to roll a save. You win. Let's just move on. So I like it.
Okay. The terms object and harmless mean the same thing for saving throws. A creature with spell resistance must voluntarily drop the resistance in order to receive the effects of the spell noted as harmless without the check described above. If a spell does not include a spell resistance entry, then assume no spell resistance check is allowed. Okay. So even though you have a high spell resistance, there are some spells that don't allow you to have a roll. And we have components, verbal, somatic, material, focus. Focus, here we go. That's the one, that's the different one. A focus component is a prop of some sort. Unlike a material component, a focus is not consumed when the spell is cast and can be reused. As with material components, the cost for a focus is negligible unless a specific price is listed. So, priest holy symbol. You have to hold it up.
Divine focus is a priest holy symbol.
Oh, divine focus is a component in an item of spiritual significance. Divine focus is cleric or a druid. The holy symbol. Okay, it's the
difference between the wizard and the
yeah. Okay, so a wizard focus would be a wand,
something like that.
Yeah,
could be.
And the divine focus would be a holy symbol. Okay, I get it, and it's not reused.
I like the spell list in this book. Obviously, this is not a big spell list.
No.
I like it because it's a good introductory spell list to get into the game and play the game. If you want more, first of all, it's very compatible with 1st and 2nd edition AD&D. You can start sliding those over, maybe even 3rd, 4th, and 5th. I don't know. But it's very compatible with the first couple of editions AD&D. Plus, there are already other books in Castles and Crusades that add magic, add classes, add, so forth. So you're not stuck with this one. The reason we're looking at this one is because this book was free. And again, let me put this on the screen. For anybody who is here right now, if you go to trolllord.com, you can actually get this book for free. You'll have to pretend like you're doing a checkout. It's only the digital copy of the core rulebook.
Yes, you have to choose the digital, and you get you get the minus the whole price, and it turns into free.
Yep, exactly.
Okay, so someone said earlier that the main reason you would choose, I think it was you, the main reason you would choose Wizard over Illusionist is the spell list.
Possibly, yes.
I'm looking at the spell list for Illusionist and the spell list for Wizard. And in my opinion, it is nowhere near a significant enough hit. Now, I'm not reading each spell, utility for each spell. I'm reading general number of spells per. And it's not significant enough for me to not play the world's greatest reality bender. Sorry.
I mean, I haven't looked through the entire list by any means, but let's... Illusionist always more. You missed the beginning of this Mystic Legion, so on Thursday when this hits YouTube, you should check out the beginning of this. Heathen Dog's already said his piece on what he thinks of the Illusionist and magic as a whole. But I don't think it has so much to do with the numbers. But let's look at the Illusionist spell list.
Look at the first level spell.
Let's see, Arcane Mark.
There are 20 of them.
Oh, that's zero. Those are 0th levels. I'm not used to 0th level spells.
I understand.
Okay. Change Self, Charm Person, Color Spray, Darkness, also light. Daze, Dragon Armor, Phantom Armor grants +1 AC to those touched. Okay. I wonder if that counts himself. Dragon Image does 1d6 damage. That's a neat sounding spell. I have to look that one up. Erase, Mundane, or Magical Ready. Wow. You don't get that scroll. There are 20 of them. Jesus. Fairy's Glamour makes another appear as Illusionist. Oh, so I can make you look like me. That's like Sloth Flame. He did it.
Yep.
And, Head Fog. I live in this. So this is a permanent spell on me. Victim suffers -4 to hit for 1d4 + 1 rounds. Just, Hypnotism, Illusory Hounds. 2 hounds distract opponents. Minor Dark Chaos. Cause 3 points damage. Last 2 rounds. Scaring Mist. Read Magic. See Invisibility. That's kind of low. I don't like that being a first level spell. But then again, I got to be fair. Like, if you've listened to these shows in the past, you'll know that I hate True Seeing. I hate No Alignment. I hate divination spells. And that's not exactly true, but I don't like just giving the party the answer because somebody's got a spell. I don't like doing that. So there's a place for divination. I just don't like it when it just automatically sees through. I would prefer that things had rolls, saving throws, and so forth. But anyway, Undetectable aura, ventriloquism, wards temporary strength, +1 strength. Yeah, you're bending reality there, buddy. Okay, let's scroll back up to the wizard. So first level wizard spells.
They have the same number of spells.
Alter size, burning hands. Okay. Change self. That seems like an illusionist spell. Charm person.
It is.
Comprehend language. Raise feather fall. Comprehend language. I'm surprised the illusionist doesn't have that one. Feather fall, floating disc. So far, I think the wizard has a little bit more utility.
That's true.
But it also just depends on which spells the wizard takes. I mean, feather fall is a good one. Tensor's floating disc. Yeah, I'm saying the thing. Tensor's floating disc can be a good one. Old portal, it's iffy. I've seen people use it though. Well, I mean, identify. The illusionist doesn't get identify at all, does he?
I didn't see it. No.
Well, here 116. Let's just go to identify. Okay, how do I get to 116?
Level 1 wizard.
F.
Yep, that's it. Illusionist doesn't get it.
Okay, so I mean that's kind of an important one. I mean, obviously you can pay for it. Yeah, it's only a level 1 wizard. Interesting. Okay. Yeah. Ice Storm, wizard and druid. Illusory Hounds, level 1 illusionist. With a command and the snap of the caster's fingers, 2 illusory hounds come running. Arf, arf.
Yeah.
They bark and smell like large war dogs. Well, I'm glad you told me they smell like large war dogs too. If your fails saving throw,
large war dogs smell like?
I don't want to know now. Now you had to mention it. Fireball. Who gets fireball? It's gonna be up in the Fs. I'm not gonna look at every spell, but we do want to look at a few of them. Oh, gaseous form. That's a level 3 wizard. That almost seems like it could be illusionist also.
You'd think.
Fireball. Let's fly. Who gets fly? Just the wizard. Okay. I'm gonna start saying.
Yeah. Okay. The wizard wins in utility, but they get the same number of spells. Just the wizards seem to be more useful, but we got to look at straight up just illusionist spells to see if they have more internal utility, meaning that do they have spells that can be changed to simulate the effect of spells he doesn't have? Like, for example, we know that illusionists can take cure critical wounds as a spell.
Let's actually look at that. You're right, but I mean, I want to look at it on here. CR. Yay! Cure critical wounds. Level 5 cleric, level 5 druid, level 6 illusionist. Now, I mean, so that's going to be, the illusionist has to be higher level. I'm guessing like 12, 13, 14, whatever. But the fact that the illusionist can do it is, to me, so far, when I was glancing at that spell list, and by no means did I memorize it or look deeply into it, it seems like the illusionist would be a great class to have if you don't have a cleric and you don't have a wizard. If you have a wizard and you have a cleric, I don't want to say you don't need it. The illusionist is still pretty awesome, but it's important lessons. So if you have a small party, illusionist is great. You can do some healing, you can do some magic, you can do some damage. Just don't have quite the utility of the wizard. If you have the cleric and you have the basically if you have the buff bot and the heal bot and you have the damage dealer,
yeah.
I'm not going to say the illusionist is bad by any means. I'm just saying
no. I mean, just having an arcane caster that can also heal. I mean, yeah. I mean, if you're like, I want to play a warrior, I want to play a thief, I want to play this. Like, well, God damn it, we got no wizard and we got no cleric. I'll just play an illusionist. Fine.
Right.
There you go. Covered both bases. You're
going to lose the buff botting. Well, actually, if you saw that it had a couple of low spells that did buff. Was it strength or hit points or whatever? So, yep. Yeah, I can't talk intelligently enough about this because I haven't played it. I understand Heathen Dog's concerns. At the same time, until I see it in action, I'm not going to say yay, nay, or otherwise. I would actually like to see all this in action. I think he's convinced me that I agree that it should have a different name than Illusionist. But even that isn't making me too upset. So, any other spells we want to look at real quickly? Finger of Death is wizard. Druids get Finger of Death?
Hey, nature says you got to go.
Okay, fair enough. You win. Wow. I know Wish is in here. I don't care.
Mother Nature said knock you out.
So magic spell description. We're showing this because we're not covering the last segment today. I just want to see how long it is. There we go. Castle Keeper in the game. So this is what we're going to talk about next week. Next week will be the last week of this.
Yep.
Now I do have a couple of comments in our YouTube post, and I should probably do this. Boom! Subscribe.
There it is.
Make sure you subscribe. We got to do that more often. But where people wanted us to dive into deeper books, I don't know. Heathen Dog seems to be triggered. I like it. I'm going to tell you this. It doesn't quite meet the standard to me of Astonishing Swordsman, Sorcerers of Hyperborea. But if I were to deal with a new group of players or a group of players that's only played 3rd, 4th, or 5th edition D&D, not somebody who, more schooled in the older style or wants to try the OSR type stuff, I could see myself starting with this game so far. But we're going to, don't you dare, stay there. Next week, I think we talk about Castle Keeper in the game. Doesn't seem like it's a horribly long section, but I think this is where, like I said, this is where we're going to blow Shadzar's mind. And because it talks about balance. I think we're going to blow your mind a little bit too, because it doesn't talk about agency, but it definitely says players have a role in deciding the fate of the story and the direction of the story. But we're not going to read every paragraph of this next time. Not that it was boring today or anything. Well, maybe you guys thought it was, but really want to kind of start focusing on this combat. Let's start understanding, how the dice rolls work and so forth. Okay. So cool. The rules are your servant, not your master. God, I can't wait to read that next week. So, anywho, boom. Just trying to see how long this is. It's fairly long. Yeah, this definitely.
It's going to be a minute.
Yeah, it's going to be a minute next week. Okay. Excellent. Let's stop sharing this. Boom. So let's catch up on some comments here. See what people think. I think we did a pretty good job of staying on it. But all right. Before we go into segment two, of course, is going to be a bit more opinionated. I think this segment did trigger Heathen Dog a little bit. But what do you guys think? I mean, look, we lost half our viewers. We lost half our viewers. Lovely. If you go to trollord.com and get the game for free. I don't think we're going to have anything in the way of screen sharing for this next segment, but I do want to do this. Doug's gone. I'm kind of pausing here, waiting to see what you guys say in chat. We did keep up with it pretty well, but what you guys' thoughts are on this game so far? Come on, open up. Wow. Yeah, I'm going to put that up. Share screen. Remember, it's 244. Boom, already got 1,000 backers. So go ahead and check out Ethan Van Skyver, Cyberfrog, warts and all. If you saw right at the beginning, I did buy my package. But I just didn't do that on here, so I doxed myself. But so I'm one of the 1,082 already. I got it when it was around 244. Within like 10 seconds or whatever it was, a minute, it was already at 244. So 1,000 backers already. All right, 157,000. So that's pretty good. If you are a fan of comics that don't actually have an agenda, if they're just good fun, in this case, Frog comic, check it out. Find it on Indiegogo. Screen sharing seems very interesting. Yeah, I mean, I like it. I mean, so far, honestly, I like it. I have some quibbles, of course, but let's be honest. What nerd doesn't have quibbles? So, I like it. Oh, I do want to remind people also with this whole subscribe thing that when we hit 2,000 subs here on YouTube, and we're getting closer and closer, we'll have a tabletop role-playing game giveaway. I guess a lot of always, but yeah, absolutely. I want to try it. I actually want to try it. And I don't mean for a one shot. I actually would like to play it for a couple of months to develop a character maybe from 1st to 3rd level or something like that, just to see how it all goes together. And I don't even have to play an illusionist, although I'd like to. Let's see. One more time. Put that up on the screen. Wow, I can't. Was everybody here only for Castles and Crusades? Wow. Either that or it's not registering because everybody dropped. Segment